Welcome back to another edition of the Barbershop on Black Men Unfiltered Network. Black Man Unfiltered is not here. I am lost in translation. I will be your host this evening. Black Man Unfiltered is in Jamaica right now with his wife. He's probably smothered and covered in cocoa butter and having mai tais or whatever it is they drink down in Jamaica. Tonight's topic is, why are black men scared of black women? That is going to be the topic of the night. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my guests. Alexis and Black David will be point guarding us for tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. If you will, let's go ahead and bring up the panel so we can go ahead and get started. And we have the one and only Mr. R. Payne. Sir, how are you this evening?
All right, fine. Can't complain.
Good. You
Even
feeling
though I
better,
want
sir?
to, but I can't.
You feeling better, sir?
No. A little bit, but I'm all stuffy still. Can't shake this thing, but I'm trying.
Right. Well, I hope you feel better, sir. I hope you feel better.
Man. I'll see how long I can suffer through it tonight.
Right. We're going to get through this thing tonight together. How about that? So glad you can join us this evening. Black David, who else do we have in the back? Also, I'm going to go ahead and recognize a few people that's in the chat. Crystal Light. She said, how y'all been? Binge watching currently on Rebuilding the Black Community Culture, January 22. We got Peter in the house. What's happening, Peter? What's going on? He said, hey, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Who else we got in the chat? I know we got some more folks down off in the chat. Oh, that's me. We got me in the building. You know what I'm saying? Well, anyway, just to get this thing started, man, I just want to let y'all know that we're going to have us a good time tonight. What's happening, Dr. Steele? What's going on? It's been a minute since we've seen you, sir. So glad you could join us this evening. And who else do we have? Anybody else? Anybody else? Dr. Steele, Eugene said, what's up? Yes, sir. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, here's the rules to the barbershop. Just remember one thing. All we're going to do is have ourselves a little healthy conversation. Ain't that right? That's right.
Wait. Hold on here. Is it the barbershop? Is it the barbershop?
Yes, the shop.
It's the barbershop.
Yes.
Wait, I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can we talk straight? We can't talk straight nowhere else. This ain't nothing but healthy conversation. That's all
You
right.
gotta tell who the park down.
Man, ain't nobody exempt in the barbershop. You know that. Ain't nobody exempt. You can talk about whoever and whatever, whenever you want to in the barbershop.
Why you gotta tell?
Wait.
That's what's up. What's up, Lady Navo in the house? New York King, what's going on, y'all? Well, our pain, Black Man left us with a little bit of a conundrum. The topic of this show is, why are black men scared of black women? In your opinion, why do you think that's so?
Well, it's quite simple. Yeah, quite simple, open and salvo. I mean, black men have been raised by black women, and whether the father was absent based on being a deadbeat or alienation or whatever, the man ain't in the house. So the woman shaped the man, the boy, into the man the best way she know how. And boys grew up fearing their mothers, loving, fearing, and being just like their mothers. So we have, as men, I think we have maybe an unhealthy relationship with women in general, until we learn the proper way to do it. I mean, I have my own anecdotal kind of conversation about that, but we can wait till later. But I mean, black men are naturally fearful in some ways of women. That's why we take so much shit. And it's starting to change. And I think the manosphere has something to do with that, where men are starting to talk about it, and we finally got a forum to start to let that out and show us that it's unhealthy the way we allow women to treat us, black or otherwise.
I think you may be onto something. Yeah. Because if you notice, guys are starting to put their foot down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
It's like you said earlier, man, when guys were raised by their mama, they had to feel God put in them, you know what I'm saying? Because she had to, you know what I mean? If the dad ain't there, who gonna break them in? And of course, you want to please mama. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that mama look at you with those eyes, you know what I'm saying? That's my son. You know what I mean? Everybody want to get that approval. You know what I'm saying? As Dr. Nkumbe would say, you know what I'm saying? That approval seeking. And I think what happens is sometimes guys will do that, you know, with women looking for approval, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just add this. One thing that what takes it out of the healthy respect thing is the absence of the father to balance it out. Because we would naturally be hold our mothers in deference anyway. If you have a father around, right? We'll become her junior protector and all that kind of stuff. Hey, listen, don't talk about my mother, you know? And but it becomes unhealthy when you don't see the other side of it to balance it out. You become a son, a husband, and all that other kind of shit. And you have to noticeably be a rock as a young man. You know, so it starts changing you, you know. So it's a very unhealthy dynamic we've been going through in the Black community. And it's just the way it is. And we need to change that.
You're absolutely right. You ever seen a single mom with a son, and then all of a sudden he's the man of the house? That is so unhealthy to put him in charge, a child in charge of grown folk business. You know, it fosters an unhealthy, you know, establishment in the home. You know what I mean? So even if she did, you know, find somebody, you know, along the way who wants to, you know, take care of her and her family, then all of a sudden, you know, the young man feels as if his power is being usurped by somebody else, and he causes problems. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, you know, he ain't the king no more. He ain't the man of the house no more. Kind of like Jody. You remember when Ving Rhames came over to the house?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It put Jody in the headlock. You know what I'm saying?
Mom. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Call for your mama. I stayed off your ass out of respect for that woman. But if it wasn't for your mama, I would have broke your little ass down a long time ago. Mom. Yeah, that's right.
There's some really good stuff in that movie, man. It's very underrated. It's very underrated.
And you know, he put him in the room, tried to put him on game, start talking about guns and butter, and start running up behind these women all day long and making babies and can't. He didn't want to hear that. So Ving Rhames had to put the cuffs on him, you know what I'm saying? Let him know this ain't what you think it's gonna be. It ain't gonna go down how you think it's gonna go down. You know, Melvin had his number, you know what I'm saying? So that's just one of them things, man, that happens, man, when you have situations like that. And I think at the end, I think Jody's mom had to let him know, hey, you're going to have to get up out of here. It's me and Melvin, son. You know, you need to have your own life. You got your own family, you know? And I think that fear starts right there. You know what I'm saying? He got to detach. And I think that's where that fear comes from when men have to detach. You know, and when they have to, and then when they have to get their own wife and their own kids, then all of a sudden, you know, he started having flashbacks about his mama running him. You know what I mean? Trying to get approval seeking from his wife, you know?
Yeah, well, she had to cut the umbilical cord, whereas naturally, if things were healthy, he would have done that himself. I mean, there's a natural time when a man knows he's got to go. You know, if you're in a healthy relationship, right? I got my stuff together. It's time for me to move out.
Right.
You know, so it's one of those things. I like that movie, but in general, I can look at me. If we could just go ahead and talk about it, like I grew up in a house. I mentioned this before. My mother passed away when I was young. I was like eight, and she was real close with my paternal aunt, my father's sister. So she took me and my brother in, but we moved in a house with, I don't know, around 5 grown women and 5 families. My grandmother, grandfather, nothing but women around.
Right.
And you know, my grandmother and grandfather had a lot of daughters. You know how they cleave around their mothers.
Right.
So it was just estrogen everywhere. Now my pops was, you know, he was in the picture, but we couldn't live with him because he was working 18 hours a day.
Right.
You know, so I saw him once in a while. And but when I got 17, man, the only thing I could think about was getting the hell out of that house. Not because the women were bad. It's just that I just know I needed to be around men. I needed to make my way where there's men, you know, and instead of all these women, I couldn't talk to nobody.
Right.
You know, so it turned me from a C student to nearly an A student because I got a letter from the university says you're accepted provided you don't go to summer school. And man, And my grades was like, stellar that whole last year, man. I had to get the hell out of there.
Right.
So that was it, so it just changed everything, joined the frat, hanged out, become the president of the chapter, had all the officers. Before I left college, even the white fraternities wanted me to run the council, so it made all the difference. That from 18 to 22, man, my growth arc was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable, so it's
Right.
noticeable. So I just had to get the hell out of there. But the one thing I have to say is that instead of rejecting the women for who they are, I learned so much about female nature over the course of that, being around my aunts and my grandmother
Right.
and how they operate. Now, some lessons, just if you're not stupid, you don't want to lose. I try to tell these young guys today, they say, you've been married a long time, you don't know shit about women. I said, I think I know more about women than you do. Been around for 6.5 decades. What are you talking about? And they don't want to hear me, but still, that's another conversation.
Yes, it is.
That's another conversation.
But here's the thing, man. A lot of guys, when they get in situations like that, they don't realize that they got to get up out of there, man.
Oh,
If you ever paid attention, grandparents and aunts and all the rest of them, they taught all the women in the family something different than what they told us. If you were listening and paying attention, you know what I mean? They'll be like, well, make sure that man do this, they make sure you do that. And then turn around and tell you, now take care of your wife and your kids. Now make sure you give everything that she paid you around and all this other stuff. And then not knowing that was complete opposite of what's
That's
really
what they
going
said
on. You know what I
to you at
mean?
all.
Right.
So, yeah.
How was that going to benefit? You telling the boys one thing, you telling the girls something totally different. We wonder why we in the mess we in now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's the way it is, man. That's the way it was, and that's still that way now.
Yeah, as you can tell.
Yeah.
As you can tell. When Kevin Samuels came out, boy, everybody just thought it was just revolutionary. To the guys, it was like, he ain't doing nothing but telling us what we already been talking about. But then I realized it was just so many people who never got the straight talk.
That's right.
And that's the reason why it was foreign to them. So I was like, this is a bigger problem than we thought it was.
And yeah, man, just as bad as him as the women got. Tell a guy you gotta wash your ass and all that kind of stuff. Wait a minute, somebody got to tell you that. Shit, somebody got to tell you. Man,
exactly. Spread your cheeks and lift your stack.
Shit, man. Are you kidding me? So stop.
Right.
Man, Kevin Samuels, he's going too soon, man. Shit.
Man, I be thinking about some of the stuff that's going on today. I've been thinking to myself, Kevin would have a field day with this.
No doubt.
He really would.
He'd be like almost 3 million subscribers by now.
Man, he almost at 2.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, he was at 1.4. Now he at 1.8. I'm like, oh, wow.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I check it from time to time. Make sure we run some of them, crazy comments up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So, we kind of keep it clean over there, kind of sweep the steps off a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing is, man, just talking about how he exposed not just the women, but how everybody was living. And his data was so good because he would ask, women the same questions. So when you ask 1,000 women the same question, you get real data.
Right.
Real data,
right,
that you could plot. And it was something else. Kendra, what's her name?
Kendra G. Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing something similar, but for her own reasons. But there's no improvement there. Some of the women that come on there is frightening in terms of what they're saying.
Right.
And here's where women need to listen to the men who kind of understand a little bit. We tell them, I think we've told a woman all the codes they need to know, but they just ain't listening. There's no secret. And we don't have to even point the finger or, hit them with a hammer. Here's what men want, And but the one of the problems we have is I think a lot of men don't know what they want because of their upbringing.
Right.
And they're afraid, just like you say, back to the topic, men are not only afraid of women, but they're also afraid of setting standards to get those women.
Right.
To get women in general, to treat them properly. you know, and if you're religious in accordance to God's will. I mean, some people ain't that religious, but you know, the natural order thing is there right in front of you. God, man, woman, and child.
Right.
You know, and it's not like it's a unhealthy arrangement. It's just the way things are. And here's why I know that even though women don't like this, they naturally want their men to lead them because they
Of
don't
course.
respect the ones who don't.
Of course.
You know, so that's, you know, it's just funny.
You know what?
They don't
Sticking
want
to
to
the
admit
topic.
it, but it's true.
Right, right. Sticking to the topic. I think that this particular question begs the question. It says, why are black men scared of black women? I think they're probably afraid of black women's expectations. You know, by
That's
watching
true.
Kevin's show, you know, everybody expected their man to make 6 and 7 figures, and the average guy is making what, 45, almost $50,000 a year.
Right.
And you go into the dating pool, and this is the expectation. Yeah, I think guys will be like, yeah, I'm outpriced the market. But here's the thing: what Kevin exposes that most of these women don't know exactly what it takes to make that kind of money, or to be with somebody who makes that type of money,
That's right.
or even wanted to question what that person would probably need or want in a spouse. You know, I mean, night
Exactly.
after night, day after day, it was like weird expectations. And I'm thinking to myself, where did you get that from? And we was on Talk That Talk Tuesday, when we had a this up, and I was saying, you know, can you speak to how women should, you know, hold men in high regard and not think of them as predators and stuff like that, and leaning in the old wives' tale. The first thing she was like, you know, that's not an old wives' tale. You know, some things really did happen to some folks. I'm like, see, how are
Yeah,
women supposed to lead into, into their husband if they fear them like that? You see what I'm
right,
saying? You're not supposed
right.
to fear your leader, you know?
Well, yeah, one of the things that Trigger Mike talks about, I don't know if you know him. He says when women say that, he says he asked them, did that stuff happen to you personally?
Right,
And a lot of women repeat things that they hear, but that's not their real experience. You know what I'm saying? They'll say, men, you know, men with this, men with that. But is that your experience? A lot of women say, you know, it didn't happen to me, but I know somebody, I heard, or whatever, you know. So
right,
that's how these things spread, right? And I think that, and it's funny, my daughter tells me this. She said, listen, Dad, you got to separate what you hear online from the real life. And I tell
right,
her, I says, I know there's a difference, but there's a representative sample of things going on online. It's not like it's not statistically significant what's being said, you know.
right,
Even though everybody ain't like that, enough people are, you know, both men and women, whatever our shortfalls are. It plays out online a lot more loudly because of the loud minority. But that doesn't mean it's not happening in the real world outside of here, you know.
right.
So that's how I look at it. So we know that black men have an issue being raised into adulthood without their father. We see it all over our streets. We see the emotionalism, guys killing each other over the stupidest of things, and yeah, I don't want to blame it on women because I'm not saying we can't say women made us do it.
Right.
It's just that you give a man the personality of a woman, but the strength of Hercules. That's just a dangerous combination.
You better say it again.
You know, yeah, so that's what's going on.
Till
You
I
know,
want my binky. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, you got a hole in your wall. You know, I can't tell you how many
exactly.
times women have said that my son put a hole in the wall. You remember that video a long time ago where that
Yeah.
boy tore up his mama whole
Oh
entire
yeah.
apartment because she took his phone away from him? I'm like, man, that's a grown
See,
man, baby boy tearing up stuff. You know what I'm
and he
saying?
was like 13 or something like that.
Yeah, 13. I'm like, wait a minute. I promise you, if his daddy was in the house, that wouldn't have went nowhere near that like that.
Absolutely not.
Because the
Absolutely
dad probably has twice his strength.
not.
And he probably would have
That's
said, hey, you might want to tone that down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
exactly, man. So I don't know, man. So listen, I don't know how we get to uh um any normalcy again, based on the way situations are. I mean, men and women don't want to be married anymore. For different reasons.
Right.
A lot of women are convinced that it's slavery being married to a man, or they like the freedom of doing what the hell they want. And that's where women have means. One of the reasons why when they find out that there's not an abundance of men at their level or above,
Right.
And so they call that settling. But I said, men also understand, who are up there, understand that they got to marry women who don't make as much as them. So women are learning that. The other part of that is, even if they found a man who was equally yoked, who made more money than they do, even though they're rich, he ain't taking your shit. Right?
Absolutely not.
If you're a millionaire and a female, and you got a guy who makes, who makes, that you look up to, you got to do the same shit and appreciate and respect him as a woman who's in the middle class.
Right.
And those rich girls, they've been boss babes, and all of a sudden you got to be humble to this dude. Yeah, if you want him.
Right.
If you want him, yeah. And they don't understand that shit at all. They don't understand that at all. And and maybe some do, but not the ones who frequent the internet. All they do is complain. Nobody's equally yoked, blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit.
Well, let me ask you this. Where on the roadmap of relationships did we substitute a spouse for money? I've noticed that. To me, that seems to be the soup du jour that nobody wants to talk about. You know what I mean? If I got money, I don't need a woman. If I got money, I don't need a man. Where did that come from?
Well, I know for women, it came from feminism. For men, I don't really hear men say, I think men are different than women, and from the standpoint that I think that men feel completed, not the players, when they have a family and
Right.
somebody to pour into, a family, including a woman. So that's why, if you look at athletes, right, the
Right.
ones who get married early tend to have better careers than the ones who are just fooling around doing dumb shit.
Right.
Right? They have kids, they got wives, they seem to be a little bit more settled. They don't get talked about enough, but their lives are more settled, even in the light of all those riches. Now, a few of them might step out from time to time, but that's an understanding between him and his wife.
Right.
But they tend to be settled. Your Chris Pauls and your CP3s and your Steph Currys and all those kind of guys. And they don't even have to be that famous. But the guys who stay single are the ones who run into more trouble. So men tend to, when they accomplish stuff, I think they tend to try to cleave and start a family if that's their head. I want kids, I want a wife and all that. I think men do that. Women, I think they were told that empowerment, money and empowerment, and this is recent. I don't think Black women used to be this way until they started to cleave to feminism.
Right.
They understood that they had to work and all that. But now that they started going to school and getting their own money, somehow somebody added that thing there, that rider. If I could pay my own bills, I don't need a man. Now that's an add-on, right? Because it should
Right.
have been, I could pay my own bills. So now I'm prepared to pour into a family. But that's not how women think. That's not how they think. When they get a man coming, they want to turn all that burden over to him and just do what the hell they want to do with their money. And I would concede that a lot of that does have to do with these YouTube streets. Because I'm not so sure the rank and file woman offline thinks the same way like that. I see so many couples, men and women, working, pouring their money into the household and having productive lives. But it seems like online, the way women talk, you see the TikTok idiots and some of those other people just saying, oh, I got my own money, I want a man to do this and that. So I think we get tainted. And I think a lot of guys who spend all their time on the internet get tainted too, because that's why they say they can't find wives, because they're looking at all the wrong places, I think, or they don't get their chance to look. They don't kind of give themselves the best chance to find the kind of girls that they want, because they want the big booty and the big tatas and all that kind of stuff. And so, and then they don't know how to talk to women because of the dating apps. So it's a lot of different things. It's so interconnected. And so I think the women think differently about marriage in terms of money, right? Because at the top of their list, it seems
Right.
like how much money you make is the most important thing.
Right.
And I think it seems to me that it seems like that's more of a Black woman thing. But I'm sure white women think that way too. But you don't hear it as much, because we don't frequent those spaces. But I think there's a percentage of women who understand, if I make 50, 60 grand, my husband makes 50, 60, 70 grand, we could do things with the total. not with just him paying the bills and me going and buying Gucci bags with my money. It's idiotic. It's childish. That's childish thoughts, right?
Right.
You know, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. You know, so my wife was working. Go ahead, man. I mean, I don't want to.
No, you good. You good. No, what I was saying is that I noticed that people who like to equate money for power, my thing is, what do poor people do? They don't argue over money. It is what it is. You know, they put what they got together and they get what they get. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna make what you're gonna make, and you're gonna spend what you're gonna spend. You know what I mean? And you're gonna do what you have to do. You know, so I don't hear that argument with poor people. You know, I come from a huge family. You know, and whoever had more money was a conversation that never really was brought up. You know, the men in our family never wielded money as an axe to cut women down. You know what I'm saying? We use that as means for taking care of the family. You know, the first thing my dad got home, he's like, hey, you know, what size shoes the boys wear? I'm going to go ahead and get them some shoes. That's the first thing out of his mouth. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, you know, what kind of, we got to get them some new suits. You know, Easter coming up, you know, let's go ahead and get them sized up or whatever. So, you know, they can go ahead and do the alterations or whatever. That's what I remember guys using their money for. I never heard my mom, you know, come and just say, hey, I make more money this day. That was never a conversation. You know why? Because they would actually sit down. I watched my mom and dad do the bills. You know, they would always put all their money in one pot, and they would have this particular notebook. And they wrote down all the bills, and they had a calendar. They sat down and said, okay, we got money coming in here. These are the bills that's due here. You know what I mean? And there never was, you know, a fight over money. I never saw that. It was never, you don't make enough money and so and them across the street make more money and they got a new car, da. It was never any of that stuff. You know what I mean? If my mom needed a new car, my dad just went out and got it. You know, and both of them knew how much it cost. Both of them knew, factored it into the bills. There was no surprises. So for me to come to these YouTube streets and to hear this foolishness, I'm like, what is this? You know, all of a sudden, if you make more money than me, I'm beneath you. You know, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I never understood that, you know, and it wasn't until I got older when I started noticing it, you know. And a lot of times people like to say it started with social media, but I don't think so, man. I think it started a little earlier than that. I think it started with the advent of advertising and TV and the news media. You know what I mean? Because I was watching this episode on CBS a long time ago where they went to the hood and they were talking to these little girls and they were saying, hey, don't you want to be with your kid's father and don't you want to marry? And they was like, nah, I don't need no man. That was like in the 80s, bro. That was before the internet. That was before social media. You know, this is ingrained. So we really can't blame social media. I think social media is just a reflection of those who get on this bad boy, you know? Because I already know for a fact there's a whole group of people who don't subscribe to any of this, you know, but the loudest people are the ones who got the wrongest, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. But if you think when feminism hit black women, it was down in the 70s and 80s. It started there. Or it started when they talked about the Moynihan Report and they started saying, hey, you got an option to take this check or have a man, you know? And so many black men might have been on the margins. Women did a calculation. Shit. If I have to keep this man and settle for him, and I'm making $20 more, but I can make $20 less and I don't have to deal with it. Get out. You know, so a lot of that stuff happened. And then that whole narrative, if I have my own, or that's getting passed down generation to generation, you know. And we're like three generations deep, right? Baby boomers, Gen Xers, you know, millennials, and Z. And you know, so there's a lot of pressures, especially like you say, commercial. Women spend more money, and if you have families that are separate, then there's more money in the commercial market because men are fending for themselves and women are spending a lot of money, right? And they're more chaotic and more impulsive when they're spending than men will. That's right. So when women say we're more educated, for example, here's what is missed. In this recent time, a lot of men forego going to college because they know the expense is not worth it. A lot of men say, I'd rather just get a vacation as opposed to getting $100,000 worth of debt so I could go work for somebody. Let me
Right.
learn a trade, and I can forego that. Where the black women are going to college, getting in all this crazy debt, but they're not picking the damn professions that will pay off that debt, right?
Right.
I have a solution to that, by the way, but that's another story.
No, go and say it.
I
we
just
we got
you know,
time.
here's my thing. I think that lenders should put a governor on. If you want to get a college loan, you can only get so much depending on what your major is. If you want to get underwater basket weaving, we ain't gonna lend you more than $10,000 or
Right.
$20,000. If you want to be an engineer, okay, we'll go higher. If you want to be a doctor, we'll go higher. If you want to be in a profession that you can actually pay back your loan, but we're not letting you go take underwater black studies and give you $100,000 because you can't get no job. So I think the lenders could do that. So, well, it's just discriminatory. I said, well, lenders discriminate on how they loan money. Not discriminate. They have criteria in a
Right.
regular loan. If you want to buy
Right.
get a loan for a house, they got criteria you have to meet. So why not for a college loan? Why give people a college loan if their major is something that they'll have to spend a lifetime paying you back? That's crazy. So I would say, hey, listen, good lending. Say, listen, yeah, you want to do underwater basket weaving? I'm not going to stop you, but you're only getting 10 grand. And that's it. You want 10
Right.
grand?
And nobody's really hiring for that. So I think
That's right.
people just getting, expensive wallpaper.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying these days.
Exactly. So
And
I
and I,
think that's
I
an
think
easy
people don't
fix.
realize the value proposition is not the same anymore.
Exactly. And women won't do that value proposition because they're impulsive. I want what I want. And if I can get this loan again, and I'm going to do it. Not that they're irresponsible, it's part of their nature, right? Because
Right.
I'm going to say it. Because if they don't have a man to tell them, hey, you know what, that's kind of dumb. No, don't do that. Then
Right.
they don't have no governors. Just no
Right.
governors. I think that's what we're here for. You get a well-yoked man in your life. He'll tell you, listen, don't do this. You could do. Here's your idea. I'm not going to shoot down your idea, but what about this? What about how this is going to impact you 5, 10 years down the road?
Right.
That kind of stuff. You need those conversations, but left up to your own devices. A lot of women just say, "Oh shit, I want that, and I want it now." Now men do impulsive stuff too, but for different reasons. So
Right.
it's just funny. I mean, here's my thing: the gender war is so stupid because we need each other. Black and
Absolutely.
women and men, they just need each other. I mean, it's so evident that we need each other for so many reasons, and we've been fighting the nature of things, and it gives rise to false prophets and all that other kind of stuff that's going on now.
Right. You're absolutely right. See, that's the main reason why I keep a lot of female friends around because they check me. And it was like, hey, you need to use a little bit more empathy. You know what I'm saying? Because I can go overboard sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I need them to say, hey, you might want to tone that down just a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, yes, ma'am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm respectful. I'm
yeah, you learn
respectful.
some stuff. You do, and
Right.
so for me, I had to come back. This whole thing, it's like I never came close to ever hitting a woman, right? But I've never come
Right.
close to a situation where I'm in a yelling match with a woman either.
Right.
Where she has to try, where she feels that she has to talk to me some kind of way because I did something.
Right.
I haven't done that either. So one of the things I kind of realized when I understand the women, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, right? Unless your life is in
Right.
danger, you shouldn't be in these kind of interchanges anyway. And so I learned a couple of things along the way about female nature, and I try to tell people that women, even in 2023, are not fundamentally different than they are in any age,
Right.
right? It's just that the mix might change, and the tools that they use has unleashed them, and starting with the pill, starting with the advent of the pill and their
The
sexuality
removal
was
of
unleashed.
accountability
Right.
in appeal.
Yeah. So you put feminism on there. You put the fact that they have more money, more education, more this and that. So there's a path forward for them, and so men pretty much, we've been pretty much the same anyway from the beginning of time. But like when God said, well, there's so many 304s now. I said, well, you know, there's always been 304s out there. I said, the most famous one is Mary Magdalene,
Right.
right? We know, everybody knows about her, right? And
Right.
so, you know, so, but that doesn't mean all the women around her were that way. And I think the same thing is true here in 2023. It's just that we don't talk about women protecting their virtue enough. Men don't talk about it.
Absolutely.
We do, like, we want it, but, and when I say virtue, I don't mean they have to be virgins either. I'm just
Right.
saying
Right.
you could tell a woman who has some modicum of virtue that she's going to maintain for the one she wants, as opposed to somebody doing OnlyFans and all that other kind of horse shit. You know, so
Right.
you know, so but back to the subject, man. I don't know how we pick the black man. We could talk about all men and start to, other than these kind of conversations, and tell them that some of their emotionalism that they find themselves in is because they never had the other side of it. When they were growing up. So even if they were raised by their mothers, at some age, you have to realize why you act the way you act. You know, and so you can't keep getting a pass for your impulsiveness, and because it's dangerous, right?
Right.
So you have to somehow start to fix your mind and say, okay, I was raised by women. Here's how my mother acts. Here's how my grandmother acted. But how long am I going to use that as an excuse to act that way myself as a man?
Right.
You know, so
You know what the
yeah,
thing about it is, I think a lot of people just don't know that they're broken. You know what I mean?
it's
Because
true.
it's hard to look at the log in your own eye when you're trying to get the splint out of somebody else's. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's true.
saying?
That's true.
And we have a very, very adverse thing to where we don't want to go to therapy because we think
That's
that we're
true.
right. You know what I mean? We
That's true.
think that the way that we were brought up is the correct way. You know what I mean? When I went to psychology class, the $10 word that I learned was cognitive dissonance. And
Yes.
basically what that is that's where you wrestle against the schema that you learned about a particular subject or thing, and you feel betrayed. So you wrestle with that as it was not the truth, but it was your truth. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. If what you've been taught by your mother, and your mother loves you, then you thinking in your mind, well, if my mom loves me, she wouldn't lie. Well, it
Right.
may not be the fact that she didn't lie. She just probably didn't know any better. And you
That's
took it
right.
and ran with it as the gospel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at, hey, what mama tell me work? You know, is it
Right.
working? Did it work for her? Did it work for grandmama? You know what I'm saying? Does it work for anybody that I know? And I think a lot of people struggle with that, man. I
Of
mean,
course.
think about it. Women, they really struggle, but with men, there's an immediate consequence to wrong teaching. You know what I'm saying? Either we go to
Absolutely.
jail, get killed, had to get beat up. You know what I'm saying? I had to get into a fight.
Absolutely.
It's immediate consequences for us. For women, it's more of like a slow burn. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? They'll take that.
If they
They'll
ever
take
learn.
that. Yeah, they'll take that slow burn, and it's like, I'm pretty. I can still get away with this. And then they're 40, 50 years old, and that's the worst right there. Because if you still pretty, you still gonna think you're right. And
That's
a
right.
lot of women like to lean on that pretty as if they're right. Not just because you pretty don't make you right, baby. It just
Yeah.
make you cute while you're doing stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah. But
basically about it.
so let me ask you, how do we, other than, I think we do a little bit of service by having these kind of conversations based on the
Right.
men who are listening, but how do we give men that perspective to give them a frame of reference that, okay, you're here and you need to get here.
Right.
And, and you got to make sure that from here to here, you can't put your own self-proclaimed obstacles in your way. Oh, my upbringing was this, or my upbringing was that. I mean, see, when I look at myself and, from my standpoint, I don't know what gave me the drive that I had to leave my house
Right.
to learn what I learned. I don't know where it came from, other than it just was a burning thing in me that I had to go in order to grow up the way I needed to. And it wasn't like somebody sat me down. I had to learn, I had to find a way to pay for my college. I had to do all these things. And this was also in the face of, I went to a Catholic school. And the dean of discipline was like a 6'8" German dude. And he
Right.
asked me, a big guy, man, Father Unsaldi, I'll never forget it. And he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I want to be an engineer. And he looked me dead in the eye and laughed and said, man, just go find a vocation. You ain't gonna do that. And I looked at him, man, I'm 17, right? I'm getting ready to graduate 18. And he tells me, you know what? No, you ain't gonna be no engineer, man. Go find a vocation and get a job, blah, blah, blah. Here I am, 65. I never forgot it.
Right.
Never forgot that. And so that, people said, well, that's when maybe he was trying to fuel your fire. I said, no, he wasn't. He was trying to break my whatever dream I had. He was trying to put a kibosh on the damn thing. And I want, but the reason why I'm saying is, but that did help me think that if I was going to make it, I'm gonna have to think on my own, right? I had to go to this office and get this application for college, figure out how I was going to pay for it. If I stayed in the state, it was something I could afford. Back then, man, my tuition was like $1,000 a semester or some crazy thing. So not only did I get a grant to go to college, I had enough money left over to spend.
Right.
So I just learned some things, man. When I went up there, it was a decision. And I don't know how we get men to do that, or do men do it all the time and just don't realize it, right? Some guys get pushed out, and then some guys go out on their own. But there's a lot of Black men who probably need to tell their story on how they made that transition. Did somebody make you do it? Or did somehow you just knew you had to do it? You know what I'm saying?
Right. For me, it was the call of freedom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Mama was like, hey, you got to put something on the light bill. I'm like, light bill, $400. The apartment down the street, $420. I mean, I can have my own lights and air and girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, hey, Mama, I love you, but I got to go. I think I gotta let it go. You know what I'm saying? I had to go and get up out of there, man.
Yeah. Hey. So what age were you when you left the house, man?
Probably when I got back from school, I think I was maybe about 24, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood, Yeah, I had just got back from school and I got a job at the bank. And then all of a sudden they made me a supervisor. I was making some money then, boy. I was like, shoot, I can take care of myself now. I'm young, 25, supervisor, Black, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, let's go. This grown-up thing kind of easy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that,
man. I started getting 2 cars, paying student loans off, man. Shoot, it's on and popping. Yeah, but my thing is you got to have your own freedom, man. For most men, they don't know what that feels like to get in your car and just go. I mean, one time I went to go visit my brother in Virginia. I'm in Alabama. I just put gas in the car, 12, 16 hours later, I was kicking on his doorstep. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just chilling, because he was in the Navy back then. He was up there in Norfolk. And when I tell you, buddy, he had a good time up there, boy, let me tell you. Oh, it's nice up there in Virginia. They said Virginia is a state for lovers, and I believe them. I believe
so you never been married? You never been married?
Never been married. Don't have no kids, no none of that.
But that's a choice you make.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way. It's the best way, man. If I'm not married, I'm not gonna have no kids. And if she can't pass my test for marriage, then we won't be married.
Right.
Simple as that. There's certain criteria that my grandmother and my father, taught me, and if you can't pass the sniff test, we used to call it smoking them out. You know what I'm saying? They used to bring them around the family and smoke them out and see if they're going to be about anything. And a few of your young ladies didn't pass the test. They didn't show empathy. That's one of the things of the test. They didn't show gratitude. That's another part. You know what I mean? Those are some of the things they don't if they don't possess a deep sense of honor, you know what I mean? Those women are the ones who deserve to be wives. I think guys are just wifing up stuff these days. I remember a while back on the barbershop, we started talking about, why you chose your wife. You know what I mean? And I think the guys who were married for a long time, they had a good inkling or indication on the reason why they married the woman that they married. And I think guys are going to have to buckle down, man, for real, and have a long conversation with themselves and say, hey, look, it's either I'm going to do this my way, I'm not going to do it at all. And you got to be comfortable with taking that to your grave if you don't find it. Right. And I think most guys aren't settled with that. But I'm settled with that because I've seen the alternative. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm happy You know what I mean? I was already happy. And if I have a woman, it just adds to the happiness,
Okay.
but my thing is this, I'm not afraid of responsibility. As you can see, I love helping people. I have a philosophy too that I learned a long time ago. I think a lot of men probably need to take that philosophy, and it's called learn, do, and teach. You know what I mean? Learn in your younger years, learn as much as you can, you know,
Right.
and the years following that, do as much as you can so you can pretty much become a subject matter expert.
Right.
And then nothing says expertise than you being able to teach what you've
Right.
learned. You've demonstrated a mastery. And what that does, it sets the foundation for having the elders, you know what I mean, having that credibility. People will seek out for you if you're a subject matter expert or you're a person who has a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean? That's how you
Yeah.
build your network. And I think that's one of the things that Kevin talked about when his pillars to being a high value man is how is your network?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do other
Yeah.
people look at you as being useful? Well, that
Exactly.
is a tenet in that, you know what I mean? Learning that you can actually be useful to the group because you're specialized in
Right.
something. And I think leadership was one of those things that I had to learn to specialize in. Me being the oldest of all my kids, leadership kind of comes natural because I had to look after everybody else. But as I got older, when I became a supervisor, some of those traits begin to reveal themselves to people who were in power. And it was like, hey, this man has a sense of duty. He has a sense of wanting to keep stuff together. He has a sense of wanting to teach. You know what I mean? I remember the first time my boss made me a supervisor. He said, let me tell you something. He said, your first duty as a supervisor is to find your replacement. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. But yet I'm supposed to find my replacement. I'll never forget that.
Right.
That was one of the most poignant things I've ever heard. And he's a white guy too. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And when he told me that, I was like, man, I got to find my replacement. And I think a lot of guys need to realize that when you have kids, that's going to be your replacement. And guess what? It's going to take you a lifetime to train that person because they're going to go through some things you haven't been through. But at the same time, they're going to go through some of the same stuff exactly you went through, and they're going to need you to lean on them.
Right.
They're going to need to lean on you for your expertise. So I told you I had made a video about the elders a while back and their role, where eventually all of us are going to be the elders.
Right.
And we're going to have to move through this world a certain way. But at the same time, we got to lead with wisdom because what they're going to be faced with is probably something we've never seen before. Pretty much like my mom knew a long time ago. She said, I'm going to teach you how to cook, sew, and clean because I already see it coming. She said, the women that you're going to have to deal with ain't going to be worth 2 dead flies. You know what I'm saying? And she knew it. She didn't want to put a damper on my parade. But, after I saw a couple, times my brother got married and he gave it the old college try, I was like, man, mama was right. You know what I'm saying? So she knew a long time ago when we were little boys, that, hey, you're raised a certain way. You grew up in the church. Right. We built you a certain way. So only a certain type of woman is going to appeal to you. And guess what? It may be a while and you're going to have to be patient. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in the meantime, while you're being patient, let me show you how to be productive. Let me show you how to be of service to somebody else that needs it. And I think guys need to lean on that a little bit. But if you've never heard that coming from an adult or from a leader or from a father, you'll get in this world thinking the world owes you something. And when you don't get it, you become jaded. And I think a lot of guys got a hold of that red pill, you know what I'm saying, because of what they went through. And it wasn't softened, with the kid gloves of wisdom, right. They didn't learn that. So I think a lot of times, man, when we go through life disappointed, it's not because of what happens to us. It's because of our false expectations of what we believe the world to be. And it disappointed us. And I think if you're built a certain way, if you're built to solve problems, if you're built to overcome problems, if you're built, to help others in the midst of problems, then when the world throws you problems, it's not a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. So that begs the question then, right?
Mr. Bennett, how are you today, sir?
How you doing? How do we get the guys who need to set standards if they never, like you said, if they didn't have the frame of reference to do it? Because that's one of the major issues, right, for Black men.
Right.
That our standards are so low. or
Absolutely.
non-existent. That's why we pick the wrong women. Well, let's just put it this way. We pick women who don't have their own standards either. And it never gets
Absolutely.
better by doing that. So how do we elevate the guys? And by these kind of conversations, or if you're out in the community, some guys are out there trying to teach that way. And it just depends. It's all kinds of different ways. Now, this is a broadcast. If we had like a big audience, that helps, right?
Right.
As long as the conversation you have is solution oriented, right?
Right.
And so we need to do that. Well, what you just said makes sense. So before I go any more, man, Mr. Bennett, man, what you got?
Welcome to the show, Mr. Bennett. How are you today, sir? Oh, you're on mute, Mr. Bennett.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome to the show, sir.
Appreciate it.
What you need to be. Welcome to the show. You know what I'm saying? So glad you could join us, Mr. Bennett. How are you today, sir?
I am well. I've been listening to a lot of your dialogue so far. I've really been enjoying it. It's been just very thought provoking. It's been very sincere, and like Brother Payne was saying, it's solution oriented. I think certainly in a lot of these spaces, the volume gets turned up pretty quickly.
Right.
And within a lot of these spaces. And so I appreciate the calm and I appreciate the balance that the two of you are bringing to the conversation. And so I just want to I'm just passing through the shop. I wasn't necessarily officially going to be on, but I saw you guys were just, cooking. So I said, just let them cook for a minute. And I decided just come into the barbershop just to stop by. But you guys brought up some great points. And I know our pain. One thing that you had talked about, well, just like in summary, you talked about we need to understand how men and women need one another. And I think one thing that's been certainly missing somewhat, I think, in the manosphere space is that idea of how women make men better or our man's need. I mean, so just as much as I think women have been pushing back saying, I don't need no man, a lot of the talking points in the manosphere, from my point of view, seem to be that, we don't necessarily need women either. I mean, look, you're good to have our children and whatnot, but otherwise you don't have value outside of sex and children to us. And so I think that message is, I think it's something that doesn't aid in bringing people of goodwill, people who recognize that, look, we need one another to the table. So I definitely think a lot of that volume needs to be put down, and maybe just more talk on, like having more topic on what is it that women bring to our lives that makes us better. I've always talked about in my situation with my wife. I give her credit that I became a better man because I've been married to her. There's something about when you're with a woman who allows you to lead, not in a dictatorship sort of way or whatever. I've heard terms like, it's a friendly dictatorship and things of that nature. But the fact that she trusts me, that's really what it's about. It's about, your wife trusting you, and just that sense of responsibility. And, lost in translation, you talk about how you've been promoted to different management. Real leaders and real managers understand it's not just about driving, but it's about improving. It's about creating an atmosphere where people want to go all out for you. So again, being a servant to your team versus man. Like, I never hated the term manager, because it's always about, you knowing more than them. You're just telling people what to do, but you're not necessarily bringing the best out of people. And so when it comes to marriage, or when it comes to leadership, the fact that she trusts me, there's just something that's just in me that's like, I don't want to disappoint her, because she's given me, she's like, look, you got it. And one thing I've always said about my wife is that one thing I was appreciated about her was, certainly she trusts me to make the right decisions, but she also forgave me when I made the wrong ones. And she said, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, I told you it wouldn't work. Like, she never came at me like that. She's like, look, it happens or whatever. We'll get over it. I trust you. Here, take the ball, go out there and pitch again, or go out there and do it again. And that just, again, if you are anything of a man, you would want to go out there and do better next time and learn and pick up and and encourage on. So I became just a better mature, because I was not the most mature person when I got married. So again, having a wife, having that responsibility, yeah, you are going to clean up some things, and it does help you focus. As you would, I think, Arpen, you were talking about earlier about athletes who marry early and have wives and whatnot. It's like there's just a lot of things. I mean, you can't be at the strip club, you can't be at the, at the stuff and spending money. Like, you be hearing with these athletes, the money that they be spending. I mean, to them it may be nothing, but for the common man, for 90% of the men out there, you spend $10,000 a night at a strip club. That's not something that most men have the luxury of doing. So yeah, probably being married to the right woman is gonna mean your economic success, because you're gonna want to put your money into the right places and whatnot, and stay out of situations that get other people in trouble. So there's so many ways that women can certainly add to our lives, but I don't think, certainly in these spaces, I don't know if we necessarily talk about that enough.
You're absolutely right.
And I think that's something that, as men, if we could, maybe have a panel with, the married brothers on, and we talk about how our women have made us better and the value that they add, or what the value of a good woman, what she can add to your life. I think that would be something that will help to not only turn the temperature down a little bit, instead of just us just clashing. So now it's the women's fault, it's the men's fault, it's the whatever. That we need to understand that they serve a special and divine purpose to us, that as men we need to respect, we need to treasure, we need to honor, and but at the same time have them recognize that, look, we serve a place also, and so I think that kind of dialogue, I think, will really go a long way in the spaces to bring us together, because you're right. I mean, it's at this point this isn't working. It's not working, certainly for the millennials. And I got Gen Z daughters, so I'm looking at their prospects. When I'm pretty optimistic for them. I mean, they have an understanding. I mean, just having seen us, and certainly very optimistic about marriage and things of that nature. The only thing I need to get into them, especially my middle one, is to tell her that it's okay to build with your spouse. You were talking
Right.
about, I think our pay. You get $50,000-$60,000, you put that together, you can do something with that. But I know my middle one, she's like, because this is all she knows. So this is one of the traps also about, when you work so hard to put your kids in a position to do certain things or whatever, she looks at this as the floor. You know what I'm saying? So this is like, and she's like, she told me a couple weeks ago, look, if it's not here, I don't want to get married. If it doesn't start here, it's like, but there's nothing wrong with, you guys, starting at the bottom and then working and then working your way up. I think the longest marriages I know of, people didn't have a lot when they got started. I mean, it's like they didn't have the house. I mean, they lived in a 1-bedroom studio or something like that, or they got, but they moved from the studio to a condo, and then from a condo to a single family house, and from a single family to a larger house, or whatever. I mean, there's steps, and those were like checkpoints along the way. But if you try to just start at the top, then what is there left to build? And the expectations now, it's like, I be hearing ladies talking about, look, if the brother doesn't have an 800 credit rating, I'm not going. It's like it gets so minute, the minutia now, in terms of what the requirements are for a lot of these women to get with men. But I'm like, look, what happened to character? If the character is good, if the work ethic is good, if the discipline is good, I'd rather take someone like that you can build with, because skills is just simply about knowledge transfer with the right person. You know what I mean? You can have the right software, but if the CPU isn't, good, that program's not going to work no matter how great the programming is. But if you get as long as, I used to build computers back in the day. So you get the right CPU, the motherboard, the fan, and the power supply, the RAM, you get all that together. Okay, it's an empty vessel, but you can take that and you can build in. And then back in the day, we used to build them towers.
Right.
And you used to be able to slide those expansion cards in and the video in, and you can just make these mega boxes and everything. I mean, you can go all over the world with that. But but everybody just wants something that's just already done that you can't really do anything with. And I think that's part of the growth process for everyone. And I just take that from just, exercise has always been an important part of my life, and just what I've learned through exercise, and just that desire to push forward and to challenge yourself, to meet goals, to set goals. Yeah, I'm at did 8 reps today. I want to do 10 the next time, and just always just challenging yourself. I think we're designed as human beings, I think, to do those things, but to make the things so simplified and so easy that people don't appreciate how you build things or how things got here. We buy things, we don't recognize the technology, the invention, the engineering, the thought process that went into doing things. That it's almost like we're building like a house of cards. Like if all this stuff gets wiped away, can somebody just know how to do just basic physics or just basic tasks to kind of build things again? But we just take things that, okay, here, I just buy this thing and it just works. But again, can you do basic things? I mean, if you got a house, can you just do local things? I mean, or are you just going to pay somebody? And these days, I've done, so there's been so much work done in my house over the last couple of years. It's like, oh, you just going to pay people all the time? Just
I feed the economy.
What's that?
I said, I feed the economy.
Yeah, that's
around the house, man. I'm feeding the economy.
And that's what a lot of people are doing. Yeah, I mean, you're making a lot of people. And that definitely, you guys were talking about college earlier. I'm totally like, look, unless you're going for doctor or lawyer or engineering or what have you, I'm not paying for it. if you're not going for that. But I'm saying, just with the money that's in the trade fields today, especially with this uncertainty, you talk about AI is taking over a lot of different jobs. I mean, you even go to McDonald's, you just punch in what your order is and the stuff comes out. So they don't even need people at the checkout counters anymore. Everything's self-service now. So you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be displaced, and you're not going to have the, so yeah. But those trades, I mean, you can't replace. I mean, a plumber. Look, I know they're probably going to build some sort of computer and go in and do your plumbing someday, but I'm putting that at least maybe 30, 40, 50 years off. So I encourage, certainly for people, men and women, to, not to forego those trades, because that's where it is. And, to come out of college with 6-figure debt is just not a good recipe for laying a foundation for these other things. So even if you do want to get married and establish something, that's hard to do when you're 6 figures down. And, and so yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot, that we could certainly be bringing to these spaces in a positive, constructive light. But I think it definitely starts with that understanding that we need one another. Yes, women, Black women, in this context, yes, we need our Black women. And
I want to add something to what you said. I want to add something to the conversation, if you don't mind me just jumping in there.
No, I'm good. You can
speak. I just had my bathroom redone for my wife and daughter. They use a bathroom, and I just had some guys come here and redo the bathroom. And my wife is all excited, right? She's like really bubbly, so she's talking to these guys and telling them how she wants everything. How she wants this here, that there, do this and that. And her personality has these guys working to make her happy. I mean, they're doing all this meticulous with everything. Hey, how do you like this and how do you like that? So I'm sitting down with my wife. I said, these guys are working their butt off to make you happy in there. I said, if you weren't here and it was just me, they would just be slapping up some shit, sheetrock and shit, man, banging the whole, my thing would be all uneven and all that shit, man.
Right.
I used to tell guys all the time, look, if I wasn't married, this TV would be like 75 inches in the back, and I'd be in a one-room place with my pizza or whatever. Like most of us got that we don't need a whole lot to function like on a regular basis. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not the artistic guy. I'm not hanging pictures up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I may have some back in the day. I used to have posters on the wall, all my favorite athletes and whatnot, Michael Jordan or Mike Tyson or something like that. Just post, So again, if you would have came to my room back in my teen years, you'd be like, oh man, this guy is, has no sense of decor or whatsoever. So we just don't need a whole lot to subsist on. So
You
if
know, when my
anything,
wife moved in my house, Mr. Bennett, my apartment, I had squirrels who came through the tree, and they were running across our drop ceiling at night.
oh my
We in
God.
really bad, right? Squirrels are running across our drop ceiling. I said, man, you know what? We got to get the hell out of here, man. You know, and I
Yeah,
kept talking to the landlord. I said, this is where we started, right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they just run. I said, you know what? There's no way I should be living in a place like this. The apartment was decent,
right.
but the house was old. So we moved and we just kept building from there.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
If
and
anything,
she never really complained. I mean, she just, you know, she just took it in stride, you know, how we were going to move from here to there and there and there. So it was, you know, so and here we are now, you
yeah,
know.
that's what I'm saying. It does. They don't have to. Like I said, when you went through it, they don't have to motivate you a whole lot.
Right.
Now, if she came off complaints like, "Well, this place is this, and why am I living here? Why you got us in here? Whatever," that might have got you feeling a certain way. But just the fact that you were with her and just her spirit was such, you're like, man, nah, I got to do better for her. You know what I mean? It's like we just get motivated to move to make a happier home dwelling, a safer and comfortable place. That's just in us. Like we want to be that, you know, that hero. We want to be that knight in shining armor kind of thing, and give them, give them those things, you know, the desires of the heart. Because again, we love them, we cherish them like that. You know what I mean?
You know
So
what?
it's yeah.
You know what I noticed, Mr. Bennett? You said something I've heard more than once here on this show. I remember talking to the Harris tribe, and Mr. Harris said that his wife gives him permission to fail. You know what I mean? And to get back up. And I just heard you say the same thing.
Oh,
I think that might be the secret sauce, gentlemen.
yeah.
It might be the secret sauce. You know, your woman giving you the permission, you know, to chase after your dream without being chastised for it. You know what I mean? I think that's very, very important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it ties into the power of forgiveness. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I think forgiveness, especially when in the right context, is so important. How it just lifts the weight off of people, because people get so downtrodden and put down and ridiculed and whatnot. But people say, you know, come on, let's go, let's get up and go. And it's like, yeah, we lost that one, let's get up and let's do it again. Coaching, I mean, you know, yeah, coach can get on you after a game, he can cuss you out or whatever, but it's the next practice, it's the next game. You know what I mean? So it's that mindset. You know, it's like you got a real cheerleader who's like, all right, shoot it again. You know, that's the shit. Take the next shot. I think a lot of people, I mean, that people spend their whole lives and their careers just longing for that. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, polls have been done about office, you know, people who work in corporate or whatever, like what are the things they talk about, the things that they rank in terms of importance. And I always think, oh, it's the money, you know what I mean? But for a lot of people, just recognition or given opportunity, like I said, to fail and to take risk and whatnot. I mean, people work their whole lives to have that kind of trust and that's another thing. Again, it boils down to that trust issue. You know what I mean? When someone trusts you to that degree, it just, again, if you're a man, it just drives you in just certain ways where it's just, I can't let, that's why, again, your kids, why we go so hard for our kids, they trust us, you know, with their lives. And there's like that innocence that's there. It's like, nah, I can't let them down. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care if I'm, you know, whatever's going on. It's like, I got to make this work. You know what I mean? So yeah, that environment is the fertile ground that spurs, that grows the innovation and the invention and the ideas and the productivity and everything. It's the fertile soil that I think men specifically, I think anybody's motivated by that, but I think men specifically, we want people saying that we believe in you, we trust you. And that is, you know, that makes all the difference, man. That definitely makes a house a home. That's what makes it, you know, that's the place you want to come back to, because you know you're living with people, you're sleeping next to somebody who's like, you know, I'm with you. You know what I mean? And that's incredibly motivating.
You know what? I think that America needs to reinvest in men again. You know what I mean? They need to
100%.
They need to plant in that fertile soil because it activates something in the man. If you ever look at some of these commercials, like some of these Bud Light commercials, they want to down men, and all of a sudden, men just like, we just ain't gonna drink Bud Light no more. It's Miller time. You know what I mean? And Gillette, the best a man can get. This is what you're supposed to do as a man. And man was like, I'm gonna grow a beard. You know what I mean? And it's something that's in a man that's rebellious, that wants to be free. You know what I'm saying? There's something in us that makes us want to do more.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I got this. I'm kind of quirky, kind of nerdy in this sense, that I grew up I'm a lifetime teetotaler, meaning I've never had a drink really in my life. But I grew up watching those beer commercials.
Right.
There was something in those Budweiser, like bring out your best. And they had these commercials where guys were on the football field, they were on the crane operators or whatever. This Bud's for you. And they just did this collage of just blue collar men, white collar men, athletes, whatever. They were so inspirational. And like I said, I never was driven to say, like, I want to have a drink or I got to drink me a Bud. But it's just those commercials were just so uplifting to men and say, look, for all you do.
That's right. That's for all you do. It's best for you. I like that. Hey, I remember them commercials.
Yeah, it was. They were just so powerful. I just, after a while, I actually had like a library, like especially on my YouTube channel. I just had like this whole library of old time beer commercials, the Bud commercials, all that, and it's all those themes that they talk about. Guys climbing mountains and getting to the peak of the mountain. When you get to the mountain, here's a beer. It's just like
going forward. That ain't the thing to do. It's gonna be
that's celebration. So
but it made you want to climb the mountain, though. You know what I'm saying?
It totally did.
Then they do it all the way.
I'll be at football practice. I'll be at basketball practice thinking about those commercials, man. Honestly, no lie, I would.
But here's my thing. I think America has failed to invest in men.
Yes,
and it's starting to show. You know what I mean? It's really starting to ravel when you take the greatest portion of your demographic and you tell them they're not anything. You know what I mean? You demotivate them. It's uninspiring. You know what I mean? You don't bring out the best. And then every now and then you get somebody who wants to bring out the best in others. And what do? We shame them. We shout them down.
Yeah.
So it's by design. So lost in translation, right?
What's up?
Don't you think that's by design?
It may be because you can get more money. You can get more money out of people when they're divided. More taxpayers. Because think about it. A while back we had a deficit with the baby boomers. When it's time for them to retire, we got to make sure they're right. So we got to put more money into the system. So we kept kicking that can down the road.
Right.
So in order for us to make do on the bill, we just got to put more people to work. So what you do is you come up with the agenda.
That's right.
Says you can do it too, ladies. You can get out there and make that tax money come rolling in, so we can pay the greatest generation as they fade into glory. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. And the problem with that is that people are not making as many replacements as they used to. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that we just gonna keep kicking that can down the road until we don't have that quadruple, triple A grade rating anymore. You know what I'm saying? As far as America's concerned, and we got downgraded a while back, but they kept that in hushed tones. But across the world, they was like, you know what? America ain't shining like it used to no more. I think America probably needs to reinvest in men again. When they say make America great again, I think they really mean make men great again. You know what I'm saying? I want to welcome to the show. We ain't signing. And Trey Frigg, what's up, gentlemen?
Salute. Shout out to you guys.
If you're not going.
Well, all right. What are we ain't signing? What you got for us today, brother?
So just going on the topic a little bit. The reason why black men are scared, I wouldn't say scared, but don't talk back in a way, is because in Black America, women are the first authority figures. 70-80% of us grew up in single parent households, which is normally the mom. Then when you're 5 or 6 year old, you go to school. Teachers are majority female, so you're already indoctrinated that women are already the leadership in your community, right? So
Right.
then, so whatever you learn and taught in your formative years or your foundation years is how you're going to act. That's why black men will always ask for advice from a female over a male, because they'll feel more comfortable. Unless it's a white person, then it's okay. But for the most part, that's how we operate, right? And
Right.
then on top, and then on top of that, right? Um, yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. And so when we're talking about how to make men again, I mean, Frederick Douglass said it best, right? It's easier to build strong children than to fix broken men, because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, government will say, I invested in you already, right? I paid Section 8 for you, I pay food for you, et cetera, when your mom was single and on public assistance. And that's why, they invest in you now so that you can go to jail later. Right?
Right.
Because the government owns your children.
They got you going and coming.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So the children belong to the government. So at the end of the day, it's not broken because this has always been, right? If you look at like the incarceration rates, even after Reconstruction, it's been extremely high. America has always abandoned black men, right? When you see a black man that has never been in jail, that doesn't have children out of wedlock, that's Superman. That is literally Superman. Because at the end of the day, America has never invested in black men. Black America doesn't invest in black men. Right? Because
Right.
we can go up in arms about so many things, but look at the reading level of black boys. How is this not a major crisis? Right?
Right.
And I hate to say this, but even black women don't really care about that. The black community don't care about that, right? Because how can you be a good mother and not raise national attention that your child cannot read at grade level? Systematically cannot read at grade level. Do you have all these opportunities for black girl magic and for black women, and then there's absolutely nothing for black boys?
And it's not celebrated too, if you ever noticed that. They call it black boy joy, but they never
They never
push it as black
celebrate
girl
that.
magic.
Because at the end of the day, the black community is black women, single moms, girls. And that's that.
You know what I noticed? A lot of guys use sports as a rallying cry for God stuff. You know what I mean? If you ever look at it, a lot of these guys had these football camps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just show up basketball camps or whatever. That's what men hang out. They do sports. They want to do stuff. You know what I mean? But where's the celebration for the academics? Where's the celebrations for the musicians, those who in the arts as well?
See, but that's the problem, right? See, that's the problem, because all that is centered around, and no disrespect to the brothers who do football camps, but all that is centered around, I'm going to buy my mama a house. You see, because at the end of the day, you boys, when they get around teenagers, they see how hard their mom worked. It's just a loving thing to do, to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to grow up and I need to take care of my family. When you get around 13 to 16, when you start working, you give a little side money to your mom for this and that if you grow up in a single parent home, because that's just what a loving child would do, right? But so even the little things that are invested to a black man or to a black boy is still designed to benefit a black woman, because the right thing to do is do engineering camp, STEM camp, then 10-15 years down the road, you're married with a stable job, and then your children do better. You see, the reason why the black community doesn't grow is because we're too worried about helping women today instead of the children of the future by investing in boys and academics, because academics shows that 60% of us can make it through. Sports is the 1 to 2%.
Right.
I see where you're going with that, and I do agree with some of that. But since we know, like statistically, those jobs, those high paying jobs, those six-figure jobs, we know that's still like a limited.
Right, but I don't want to say six-figure because that is the 20%, right? So, but we can do a six-figure income household, or we can shoot for $60,000 a year as an individual. An engineer can get you that, right? Graduating from college can get you that.
Oh, no doubt. But I guess the point I was trying to get to as well is that as far as why sports, I think it's across the board. I don't know if it's necessarily limited to Black people. I think across the board, why sports is so, especially other sports like baseball, because again, you don't have a lot of Black kids playing baseball or
swimming.
Yeah, like a lot. I know you're a background, but a lot of these high-end sports, a lot of folks don't participate in. But I think there is something about sports in general that I think connects with Black kids. Because you said, why not do engineering camps and those kind of camps? I think there's something. I think we can't separate the two, because I think sports, in a lot of ways, it's simulation of war. I mean, go back before there was even things such as sports. You were training young boys to be soldiers and warriors, not necessarily engineers and artisans. That goes back, I think, throughout history. Most men were groomed to be fighters, or at least to be ready to fight should the war ever come. And I think but there's something about that environment that I think that draws young boys to it in ways that the engineering. Now we're saying that we need to, move away from this sports model in mass and look at these other fields. But I still think you need that component of some kind of disciplined physical culture that allows these boys to then be able to absorb or to pick up or to be focused on the engineering and these other disciplines, the music disciplines and everything else. Now back maybe before 1970, 72, 74, you had a draft or you were potential to be drafted. And in fact, if you look at go watch a lot of high school gym class stuff from like the 60s. It was nothing like, you weren't playing kickball in there. You weren't playing basketball.
Calisthenics, baby.
It was calisthenics. They had the rope climb. Remember the ropes that were in the ceiling? You had to climb up in a certain time. If you're not going. So I mean, you were doing all these things because they were prepping you, because you could very well be drafted. So a lot of the gym classes were basically like basic training for military work, to get in case you were going to be drafted to go to some war conflict. Because since the 40s, you had the World War II, then you had Korea, then you had Vietnam. So for like generations, like war was always something that was like always sort of at the forefront. It's like really, it's only in the last 40 years or so we've been at a general peacetime. So even more so, sports has sort of taken over in terms of capturing the interest of young boys. So I still think there needs to be a physical component, because I think just as men in general, there is an aspect of us that needs that environment. And you can certainly use that environment to teach other principles, why it's important to study, why it's important to focus on other things. But I don't want to necessarily say, okay, well, let's take away the football camps or whatever. But can we use those sessions then to help and then introduce the academic aspect? Because again, you got to be honest with these kids. Look, most of you guys are going pro. 1/10 of 1% is going pro. So most of you guys aren't going to be able to buy that house, mama. But again, you still use that environment to help them focus on academics. I just think we need to balance both of them. If you're not going,
you want to put you on mute, man. Black David.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
So I just want to say this, because
he wants to say something.
I think his computer want to say something.
Hello.
Yeah, you got it.
I just want to say something really quickly. So it's not so much about abolishing sports, but it is about prioritizing, because all communities have sports, right? Like soccer is huge in the mainstream community, right? But those are the additional stuff. Like academics come first, right? The engineering, the STEM, the after-school computers clubs, and all of that, right? Yeah, and
That's why we disagree. I still think you're talking about. I mean,
hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
Hear me out. If you look at mainstream communities, right? Like, so for example, soccer is huge right now, right? But you still have the other things. You still have the STEM, you still have the engineering, you still have the researching at the universities, right? Soccer is not the main thing, right? And then back in the day, you had Boy Scouts, right? So it's not so much about abolishing, but it's about putting the priorities in the right spot. And right now, what Black America need is to put boys in the right spots. And right now, that needs to be focusing on getting into the military, or learning trades, right? So after college, you're able to work. And then for some that can make it to college, because right now college is extremely discriminatory to Black males, right? Extremely discriminatory to Black males. So, like, so even college is no longer a viable effort to most Black men, even with the proper grades, because college discriminates against Black men.
Right.
You know what we ain't saying?
My only pushback on that is that college isn't an option for most, right? Because
that's why
like only 30% of people in the country,
in the nation, are educated. Yes,
educated, right? So the majority of people, these aren't even. So that's what I'm saying. So across the board, you're still talking about a minority of people that are even going into these fields.
But that's why I mentioned the very first thing I said: military, trade.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Right. We ain't signing. Let me explain to you what sports does. And it's not to be overlooked. Sports allow us to do things like we're doing now. We assemble. It allows us to assemble and trade ideas. You know what I'm saying? And it also helps us to build networks, which is a component of building a healthy community. You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much like when a lot of times when people go to college, they build networks, they build friends for life. And when those people go on to go into businesses or whatever, your network is what you use to find another job. You know what I'm saying? When people always say, we can get fired. I ain't worried about getting fired. My network is strong. I can get a job anytime I feel like it. See what I'm saying? It's one thing for you to be able to, afford your opinion. You can speak a little louder. You see what I'm saying? So I think sports is a low barrier for entry for camaraderie with men. And I think that's probably the reason why a lot of young men gravitate towards sports. Now, as someone who's dabbled in just about everything in STEM, athletics, music, I can tell you all of that makes you around, but everybody ain't talented to do all of that. So what sports does, sports allows people, even if you're not good, to be able to participate. You know what I mean? And nobody's going to down you for being bad. You just might get picked last, but you still get to play. Does that make sense?
I would say Boy Scouts does a better job of that than sports. And I will have to kind of disagree about building community, because right now we, going to college builds a better community because you understand what community is, because networking is there. But people who did, high school football programs and basketball programs, they don't know how to build communities, man.
We're not relying on those guys. We're relying on the business guys. The network. And a lot of times most people who have businesses ain't been to college. Some of the most successful people ain't been to college, but we still need everybody. Everybody needs to play their part. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I would say ROTC is better would be a better fit.
Well, here's the thing we ain't signing. Here's the thing about that. Boy Scouts cost money. You know what I'm saying? All these other camps cost money. Even the sports camps cost money. And to me, that is for some situations, that's a very high, like the Boy Scouts, that's a very high level barrier for entry for most people. So the reason why I said sports doesn't necessarily always require an upfront investment for kids to want to be along and to be with other kids. That's all I'm saying.
No, but here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, though. Here's the kicker. All right, let's look at where we are in our society. If we say that boys are being raised maybe at 70 percentile by women, right? Then what we need to be talking about is how do we get the women, those single moms who are responsible for the boys to a certain age, to get them towards the things that's best for them. Let me give you an example. I was on one of these panels, and a lady said she wanted to find a place for her kids to go to school. So I said to her, so why don't you look up, all boys schools to send them to, so you don't have the normal distractions of girlfriends and peer pressure and all that kind of stuff with some discipline, maybe a private school, whatever. And she says, I was thinking about that. So there you'll find sports, you'll find education, you'll find all that stuff there. And I went to all boys school in high school. And I was mad about that because, everybody wants to have the girls around. But there was a certain amount of concentration I was able to have because we weren't focused on getting laid, right? We was just focused on getting out of school. I mean, enough for that when I went to college. So how do we get the women in general to say, here's what's best? Listen, you don't have a man in your life, or the man in your life is estranged, or you're co-parenting. So what's the best for the boys that you do have control over? And then what's the best for the boys who are in the diaspora where they're being raised by single mothers who are looking to, for whatever they're looking for, to start doing something better by their sons and not just worrying about their daughters? How do we start to get them so they can have some pride in making their sons into men that are self-sufficient as opposed to men who are emotional? They just had these 2 kids that just killed this police chief on the bike just recently. They were just joyriding. They stole 4 cars that day, and they just thought it was fun and run the guy over. 18 and 16. I mean, that kind of thought process. They had 2 men that day. Nobody talked about the other one because he survived. But so how do these things happen? And then you see the mothers of these kids on TV. One saying, man, God help my son. The other one trying to make excuses for him. So how do we gear that? I mean, I'm just talking. It's all rhetoric. I mean, this is all rhetorical because I don't think
it's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
But I would say this. I would say this. Frederick Douglass, the famous quote everyone knows: "There's no struggle. There's no progress without struggle." Right? Everyone knows this question. So this is what I would say. To fix the single motherhood thing is you gotta let people suffer. I would say the best thing to do is to not do anything. No more help, no more Big Brother programs, no nothing. And this is why. Because women need to come to the same understanding of men, is that you need a father. You need a husband. Children need a 2-parent household. Or children do better just with fathers, right? Statistically, they just do better. But because we have men such as yourselves, upstanding men who care about the community, you are filling in the gap for that father that the mother feels she doesn't need because there's a sin in us, right? Women have to understand that, you know what? Nah, we need to show women that we can't do this anymore, right? Because otherwise, the young women who are teenagers now, they will see men like Mr. Bennett, our pain, lost in translation, always going to step in. So when they become of age and then they have children out of wedlock, right? It's cool because there's always going to be men like this that's going to step in the gap, right? And we know the statistics, right? If you come from a single parent home, you're more likely to have single children, right? So there has to be some level of struggle where men is going to say, what, you know what, we can't tolerate this anymore. Because that's how you
You're still repeating, Trey.
That's how you fix the single parenthood. Because if you talk to women today, what is family? Mother, children, not fathers. We got to change that mindset, and that is not something that we can do. They have to come to that realization on their own, and you come to that realization before by just removing off, right? Lost in translation is married with his wife and kids. I'm married with wife and kids. My kids are going to be over there with Lost in translations. I'm going to live in that community. I'm going to live in a community where there are no single parents. Right? Because that is the only way that I can fix the community I love as a whole. To say, you know what, we can't accept this no more. Whatever the situation is, we can't, because there's 36 different levels of contraception. right? So it's your responsibility to protect yourself. And if you can't protect yourself, then don't have sex. And I'll leave it there.
So do you still
Because
put the
otherwise,
onus on the
we, the men up here, are encouraging young women to just be like whatever, right? We're encouraging single motherhood.
Actually, I'm not.
I mean, you know
they're
what
not
I mean.
getting they're not getting a ring or kids from me.
Right.
I'm not encouraging that.
No. We're encouraging it through going to Big Brother programs. We're encouraging through helping out their young boys, right? When they come of age, a woman will come up to you and be like, "Hey, my boy, he's 16 right now. He needs a man in his life." Well, you should have thought about that 16 years ago. But when we say, okay, yeah, bring them over to the office or bring them over to the backyard, let me show them how to do a couple things. We're encouraging that because other young girls who are 8, 9, 10 see that black men are so loving and so caring that we're going to stand in the gap. But that problem is that we're enablers, and we need to fix that ourselves. And I'll rest my plane there.
You know
All right,
what?
so but we ain't signing. Hang on. So what do you think of? Is there not a cost that we will all pay for that young man not having some sort of authority or father figure that would intervene? And the fact that there's so many of them out there that are like that, do you not worry about there could be a long-term cost on the system and on the society as a whole if this man does not have? Let's say if we just snapped our fingers and got rid of the mentoring programs or the Big Brother programs or just the neighbor helping out or what have you, these young boys have nothing. What is the cost of society then for these men, and are we in a position to really pay that if no one intervenes?
Well, my response would be simply this: we're paying the cost right now. We're paying the cost because most black men are scared of black women. We're paying the cost because right now a lot of boys, 80% of black boys that are in jail come from single parent homes. We're paying the cost now. Black boys can't read at grade level. We're paying the cost now. Black boys are not competitive as to Asian boys, white boys, whoever. We're paying those costs now. We're paying the cost right now that right now there are a graduating class of Morehouse men that cannot find wives to build the life together because she says that you need to have 6 figures, and I don't date potential. Right now, the black marriage only lasts for 5 years, and then 80% of the people file for divorce is the woman. We're paying the cost now.
I'll jump in. Let me chime in. I'll let you go. We are enablers. I agree with that. But these stopgap fixes, I don't think are what we need to stop. I think what we need to stop as enablers is, and this is just nature, right? Because men are going to take sex from women any way they give it to us. But we need to stop shooting up the club. That's the first enabler, right? Because men don't measure the cost of that particular transgression, even though I believe the women are the first line of defense against that because they own their wombs, right? But men are going to take sex from them if they're giving it. And if they're allowing them to shoot up the club, they're going to have all these fatherless babies. Now, I agree with you. I don't think we need to marry those women after they've made a mistake in all their 20s. But if there's a son worth saving, I would never discourage a man from helping saving a guy in the club or mentoring them. I would never do that.
If you love black children, again, Frederick Douglass says it's easier to build strong children than broken men or broken adults.
We ain't signing. Let me ask you a question.
Let me just say this really quickly.
Go ahead.
If you love black children, the children who are not born yet, the children who are 5 and 6 years old, then there's no way you can continue to enable them because we know what future is hope for them, what our actions are now. So if you really do care about the black community, and if you care about the black community, let's keep it 100. All nations, all races always focus on the generation to come, not their current. I care about the generation to come because I can't do nothing for this one because that was my parents' and grandparents' time. This is my time to shape Black America 20 years from now. So the kids that are 5 and 6 years old, and I don't want them to deal with the stuff that I had to deal with. I don't think it's right for black men to go to Ivy League schools and can't find a good black woman. I don't think it's not. I don't think it's right for black boys to go to trade school and then a black woman telling them he's not good enough. I don't think it's right for black women to have black girls to go to a future where 60% of them will be pregnant and never be married. I don't think that's right for them, and I don't think it's right for black girls to go into a future to have multiple children by multiple different men. That is wrong. That is wrong.
Simon, let me throw this out at you. I think I agree with everything you're saying, except the absolutes that you're talking about. Let me finish. I don't agree that these men can't find any black women to cleave to. I just don't think that they're looking hard enough and in the right places. No, I agree with you that it's harder to find, but to say they can't find them at all is something I would argue about. They just got to do a better job of vetting women, and men still fall. Let me finish out until you can say whatever you want to say. Men fall in love when they try to find women, and they overlook the red flags. We do that routinely. And so I think men can, and listen, if they can't find a black woman, I'll tell them to marry somebody else. There's black women all around the world. And if you can't find them and you don't want to travel, marry somebody else. I swear, get a Latina, get somebody else. This confinement that we have, if you have enough to give and you can't find a woman that in your race that you can't, you just can't just get held back because you can't find what you want.
You're totally missing my point, because I'm saying this. It's wrong for a black girl today that is innocent go into a adult black future where her future is going to end up having multiple children by multiple men. I don't want that for a black woman.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
I come always in peace, and I come to just go through a lifespan from myself being a young man in the early 90s, coming out of 89, graduating 86.
First of all, welcome to the show, Trey. How you doing today? Welcome to the show, sir.
I appreciate y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I listen, but I've also walked in these steps where I've had to groom thousands of young men coming out of the Midwest. And I've spent 15 years in Chicago, the last 15 years in the high schools, in the communities, talking to young men who are our warrior class. And I always relate this to this. This is a phenomenon that's only really been going around since New Jack City, since crack hit those streets in America. Because by looking at most of you guys, most of y'all probably in your mid-50s, late 40s, you know what I'm saying? We saw the birth of this technology. We saw when you had your game room was going out to the field and throwing dirt bombs and running and playing pitch-up tackle. That was your game room. You got out, you ran with people your age in whatever capacity. And back then, most men, young boys and young girls were doing active sports in some capacity. Mamas wasn't around saying, "Get off my son." You might have went home, and I've seen guys go home with 2 black eyes and be right back out the next day, jumping and climbing and doing the same thing. And then you had those conversations. Most of our teachers before busing were black women from our communities that went to church with our mamas and grandmamas. They set a standard of respect for you. Although mama might have took feminism and moved in that Section 8, but she understood she gonna raise these 5 boys with some type of discipline. And she was not ever saying that I am your mama and your daddy. She always said, I'm gonna go get your daddy. Because she knew where Mr. Jones was. And Mr. Jones would come over and you mouse up like when men are in presence of a boy, that's the hierarchy and respect that men were given. Black men were graduating high school. I'll say not black men. The overall black population was graduating high school in the early 80s, mid 80s, up into 1990 at 80%. that's coming out with your diploma. You know, when you go to prom, we was going to prom, we was wearing our little cap and gowns, we was graduating, walking the stage. Then you had another 18% that were getting their GED. So you had 2%. And back then, you can come out at 18, 19, get you a $35,000 a year job and be out in the streets balling. Because in two holds, when you grew up with a mother and father, the father already had expectations. He's telling you at 14, well, son, when you get your own place, when you move out, this is what's going down. And mama was on that plan like, yes. But even the mama that was raising the single son, who was 6'6", 230, and had 5 brothers the same size, she set an expectation and she stayed with that expectation. She didn't make excuses on why you, her child, looking like your daddy with big lips and big nose. She didn't do that. Your mama went to the church picnic and the family reunion. She ain't go no shake your booty parties, no tattoo parties, no BBL parties. She ain't do none of that. So now crack come into the scene. Feminism took the father out. Crack took the mother out. So here we are, young man, and this is, I say this because I work with you all. You 30-something-year-olds, those are the strongest times of your life. And the fact that we spend months and years now going into a place where our strongest men are losing the battle when it comes to building relationships, building a foundation, building generational wealth. Because again, when mama was gone, you was 8 and 9, you didn't like nobody now. You didn't know who to trust. So now you in a young adult, now you fed that to your children. A lot of our young men in their 30s, early 40s, they were out here killing friends of the neighborhood. It's a lot of brothers still recuperating from that. We had always had the highest number of murder amongst ourselves as the Black warrior. Now we the warriors of this month. And now you had, they've taken away a lot of the rights that our strongest men did not even accept. The Black woman, listen, the easiest way to conquer a nation is go through the women. They always portray things to the woman to be self-sufficient. But what does that do? That puts your child in a vulnerable position. That puts you in a vulnerable position. And being a brother growing up in America, nobody has never really come to our rescue. They were sick and dog on us. They beat us. They hang us. And when but now here we are 30 years later in this crack era generation because, and brother, let me say this. When we were, and I go back to that time in the 70s, we read. Brothers 30 years ago could read their butt off, could write, sing, do all the arts. And that's why sports brings men together amongst men. Sports brings out the righteousness in you. And not only do we need ambition, we need the competitiveness early on. You see it in the other species on Earth, young bucks buck with young bucks. And that's the thing that we have to sort of just, it's not going to get better unless our younger men, I'll say 18, 19, 25, 35, 40, you all need to come to some space where you can forgive those things that happened in your time before your age of reasoning. Because at some point, a lot of you all got to a point where you said, the hell with it, because there's so many, and that's the thing about being a man, it comes in spurts, it comes in growth, it comes in your work to be able to handle situations. So you have to build in especially in today's capacity. Everybody plays on a computer and plays on a phone, but nobody's trying to learn the inside of the phone. Brother Bennett said he got into computers, he worked from inside out. A lot of us go from outside in because, again, here we are 3 generations in, the mother's out of the home. The boys being put in vulnerable positions. That's why it's almost like it's taboo to talk about being a man. Everybody ain't gonna like who you are all the time. But as a man, you gotta be able to move on your independent knowledge based off circumstances, based off opportunity. If you come into a place in your life where you need a breakthrough or opportunity, you cannot be afraid to step out into the wilderness and move with your righteous heart. Respect people, respect places, respect things. The same things that defines a noun. Respect those things. Learn, like the brother said. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to listen to learn. And it's unfortunate because when it's you're looking at it right now. We in the most critical time. These Ukrainians, they coming. These south of the border people all through South America, they coming. Who's gonna miss out? You brothers between 18 and 40, because y'all don't want to get out here and create your own destiny. You're gonna wish you had a passport in about 10, 15 years. Whether you go to college, whether you go to military, whether you learn a skill trade, brothers, we ain't even applying for them. We ain't trying to get a truck, but we want generational wealth with no house, living in a $3,000 a month apartment to buy some 15 pair of Jordans in a box. Come on, man. That's $20,000 that you can be stacking, holding in your pocket. You ain't got no interest bearing account anyway. Put it in a shoe, do something. Go apologize to some of these brothers' families that are killed out here. There's just a lot of brothers just trying to come back on ground below zero. Right. So you got to just take time, fellas, and just do what y'all need to do, man. You know, I want to be 75 and I'm a black man with a bald head, and believe me, ain't nobody coming to save us, brother. We got to make.
Hey, I respect everything you're saying, Trey. I'm in the 39.
Welcome to the show,
39
KP.
years.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Glad to see y'all,
grown folks say come in the house and speak to the folk when they come on in now.
Yes. Salute to my elders, man. All my elders, man. Everybody on here is older than me, so salute.
What you want to add to the conversation, brother? Welcome to the show.
Look, man, as a 39-year-old black man, I'm watching black men do a lot of different things in my age group that a lot of black men before me did not do. I know electricians, I know sheet metal workers, I know HVAC workers, I know all these guys. Most of these guys are married. This is the thing, guys. I just went to my grandmother's 90th birthday party last week, right? Turned 90. One thing that was glaring is the same thing that we talk about on these panels. Women with children. Women with children, that's my age. Okay, I got a sophomore in college, Division I college, scholarship, I got a cousin that had kids when I first had him, because I'm 39, so he's a sophomore in college, so you know how young I was when I had him. So they had a kid when I had him, but then they just had kids a couple years ago too. No husbands, but they got more kids. Look, I understand what Trey was saying, but what I'm saying is this. Most brothers that are productive are not doing that. Look, bro, I got a vasectomy about 15 years ago when I had my last daughter by my wife. We got 3 kids together. I don't got no outside kids. Most of the brothers I deal with and
come on back, KP, you're breaking up. KP, you're breaking up, sir.
Just when it was getting
I think he just went out. You know, here's my thing. I want to touch on something that we ain't signed and said. He was saying something. There would always be somebody there to help the kids. You know what I'm saying? When the fathers aren't there, maybe, you know, we should probably reinstill, you know, honor for the elders. You know what I mean? In some cases, you need to pay these old men. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're taking on a yeoman's job. Yeah, you know what I mean? That you can find somebody else to do. You know, you should honor those old men, you know, and pay them for their wisdom and their experience and their time. You know, back in the day when you wanted to pick somebody's brain, you would take them out to lunch, you know, and learn what you can from them. I don't think we teach men and women how to respect those who came before us. What's up, Grooming and Reviews? What's up, KP? Buddy. Go back. Come on back. Welcome back, KP.
Translation. I'm glad you said that, because I said that the other day to my mother-in-law. I said, hey, this is funny because my sister-in-law and her mom called me the other night. They had a flat tire. So I go out and plug the tire so they can get back on the road, right? There was a thank you involved. But back in the day, grandma and them would make you dinner, right?
pie, at
Grandma never
least, or
make you
something,
something to eat. Bruh, you don't get that anymore, bruh. But you expect it to roll over in the middle of the night, go help some people that you're not accountable for, because you can't tell them anything. You can't give them any direction of what to do until tragedy strikes. Right? This is what I've learned, bro.
Yeah,
I've been
you're
ministry. I've been
invisible
in
till
ministry for a
problems
long
show up,
time.
you know.
Yeah, bro. As this is what I've learned, bro. As much as we want to be egalitarian and be like Jesus or Allah or Buddha or whoever you want to be like, at the end of the day, your people will take your kindness for weakness and they will stand on it. And they will stand right on it and look you dead in the face and say, "Give me more." That's what they do. Now you can deny what they're doing to you, but that's what they do. And I've watched it over and over. I've given backpack giveaways during back to school. I've done that for years. But I'll continue to see these same people come right back around. And when you set up the backpack giveaway to do the backpack giveaway, nobody's there to help, but they're there to receive. They're there to receive whatever free gifts you're going to give them. Look, man, it enables the ability to continue to do it. That's what We Ain't Signing is talking about. And until we get to the fortitude to turn our backs on those who reject our wisdom and knowledge, but they accept freely what we give them, and they reject the wisdom and knowledge, then they'll continue to do it. That's all he's saying. It's just hard to accept it because you have too much in your heart to help people. That's the problem.
So
Yeah, I
basically,
mean,
you need to
at the end of the day,
pay for your
at the
mistakes, basically.
you have to, because that's how people learn. That's how people learn. God himself says that, right? There's forgiveness, but no absolution. All right, sins are paid. What the sins of the father go down to 3 and 4 generations. It is necessary. If with the information that we know today and the data that we have, if we continue to be the person that steps in the gap, you do not love black women.
So you don't love your child unless you chastise them? Is that it? Ain't that what the Bible says?
The Bible said, it says it very clearly. I chastise you because I love you. If I don't chastise you, you're not mine. So at the end of the day, because the thing about it is just that we have done this for 40 years. If we keep doing that, what about the children 40 years from now? Doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome is fucking insanity. It's insanity.
It
I
hurts,
get
but it
it.
is the truth.
I get it. I get it because we all grew up from single. I grew up from a single mom parent, right? I get it.
Me too.
Me too. We wanna fix the shit that our fathers, where we understand our fathers didn't do, and who knows if that's even the truth. But I'm not gonna go down that road. But we want to do that, and we want to be like everybody in the black community thinks black men ain't shit. Deep down inside, we believe that. Let's just keep it a buck. Everybody believes on some level.
If you're not going,
Trey, you looping, man.
Everybody on some level feel black men ain't shit, and this is why we overcompensate when it comes to black women.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pass the mic.
Overcompensate.
Let me ask you this, gentlemen. Let me ask you this.
Glad he said that, because another thing lost in translation before you pass it to somebody else is that.
Go ahead, KP. KP, you live. Go ahead, sir. I guess he'll come back in just a second. We'll let him get his mic back up.
Wait. Hold on here. Is this the barbershop? Is this the barbershop? Yes, the shop. It's the barbershop. Yes. Wait, I mean, we can't talk straight in the.
Listen, let me ask you a question. How do we correct that? You know, my thing is this. You know, Pookie made the baby. So who would you have him replicate? Another Pookie or Mr. Bennett or R. Payne? You know what I'm saying? Or We Ain't Signing. Sometimes you got to get in there and you got to reprogram some stuff. You know what I mean? True enough, you may not reap the benefits of that, but it will correct the next generation going forward. I would like to think that.
To get a Mr. Bennett, women. Oh, let me say this in a very PC way, because
come on,
because when you say stuff, people can't hear it because they're triggered by things in their personal lives. So let me communicate properly.
Okay.
To get a Mr. Bennett, you need whole families. We will all agree to that. To get to that whole family, children need to understand that if you have children out of wedlock, you're going to have big trouble that you don't want. Children need to see that. Children need to see that, not hear that. Children need to see that. And I'll leave it there.
You know what I thought about something too? We ain't signing. Early in the broadcast, we talked about therapy, and sometimes we don't always know when we're broken. And I don't think that a lot of people who are in those situations know that they're broken, so they don't know to reach out to the elders. You know what I mean? The elders are sitting back and it's like, man, this is a mess. And you don't really want to get involved unless somebody say something, or you be overstepping your boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So in situations, what do you do? Grooming and reviews. Welcome to the show, sir. What do you got on the topic, sir?
You just hit a nerve with that one with me.
Which one?
That one you said going to the elders when you're broken.
Right.
Because you could go to the elders, like your grandparents, and sometimes they would tell you, suck it up and be a man. Sometimes going to the elders is not always the right move.
How so? Help us out.
Think about it. Good example. I'll use myself. I was going through a rough time when I was a lot younger. And my father turned around and said, suck it up, stop crying, stop being a bitch. Literally, he said that to me. Put your pants on and be a goddamn fucking man for once in your life. I look back and now I wasn't nothing really wrong with me. I was having a moment, except him to, being compassion. But it's not his fault. He was raised a certain way. He really didn't have a father. His father was killed during World War II. So I get it. But looking back when I was younger, I couldn't understand why somebody so cold, so hard. Therapy? My dad laughed at me when he heard I was in therapy. He says, so you're being a little bitch. Pretty much. That's what he said to me.
Let me ask you this. Did therapy help you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. In that particular situation, it doesn't matter what your dad say.
No, I don't care. I really don't care anymore.
You know what I'm saying? That's
back then, yeah.
My thing is this, that you're better. You know what I'm saying? Because you sought help. You know what I mean? But in certain situations that we're talking about, repeating the same stupid stuff over and over and over again. Yeah, sometimes you need somebody else to step in and say, hey, look, this is how you fix that. Come on, Arpain.
I wanted to answer what you asked before. And here's why I agree with we ain't signing. I believe that what we are seeing is the fact that black men who are on their grind are not being stepfathers anymore. Not taking on women who have 4 babies by 6 different guys and all that shit.
Right.
Guys are not as especially single men who hit their 30s. When those women say, okay, now I have my fun, I got kids, I want to get a man who's doing something in his 30s. Ain't no real man on his grind checking for them. Not really. And that's the first step. And that's where I would say that we need more of that. I think a lot more men need to stop being stepfathers, unless you have your kids yourself, right?
Right.
And you're going to blend the family. And so if you're going to have blended family, but even with that, you have to have strict criteria on blending the family. And that's what I'm saying. You have to have authority along with the responsibility. And usually guys who became stepfathers really didn't get that straight, right? The lady will marry you, but you can't talk to her kids. And then you also have to realize that you're going to be dealing with another man in your relationship or men. And you got to be willing to do that stuff. So I think more men, black men in particular, are starting to be more discerning that it ain't a good deal to be a stepfather at all these days, even though black men have a history of being stepfathers, and I think that's waning big time, because even men with women with no kids don't even want to get married. You know what I'm saying? So can you imagine taking on somebody else's brood, your legacy? Those women are all worn out. They don't want to give you no kids because they already had 2 or 3. So I think we're starting to come to our senses, and you're starting to see it because people are talking about that. And that's one of the punishment. It's kind of a punishment because why would a woman give her best years to some bum that she didn't want to cleave to, all of a sudden come to the promised land of a man, you know, who has it all together, you know, and he's taking care of her kids.
So are you saying? So are you saying this is like a cycle? So again, we acknowledge. In fact, I was on another podcast not too long ago. They were talking about how Black men did just that. They did step up and be step parents to kids, and a lot of us come from that. But we're saying that that needs to end at some point in time. Let this generation die out, and then
I'm saying it is ending. No. I'm not. Listen, I'm saying it is winding down. Men are less likely to do it anymore for those reasons, because they're starting to, as men started gaining their standards, we're starting to see how bad of a deal it is taking on a woman and her kids. And because you're not only just taking on the kids, she's giving her best years to somebody. And the best gift a woman could give a man to some asshole. And then she's expecting you to come in and give her all the goods. You know, and it's just not a good deal. You know, and so guys are saying, shit, man, marriage is not a good deal for men if you have means anyway. Now I'm gonna do that and take on your kids, you know, running around like Steve Harvey and shit. No.
I don't think guys signing up for that no more, Pain. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So guys are
I
saying,
ain't doing it.
I got
it.
But I'm just wondering then, is some of the pushback that we're seeing with that mindset is the fact that a lot of folks did come from that environment. So it's people are not looking at it from a logical, rational point of view, but it's just personal because that was so much part of our community growing up. So like, if I came from that, what do you mean that you can't be a step parent? I came from a step parent situation and whatnot. So people aren't necessarily looking at it logically. They're looking at it more personally because that's
Mr. Bennett, let me add to that. There was a lot more appreciation back then.
It was.
There was a lot more appreciation back then. My grandfather.
Hey, R Payne, and Mr. Bennett. I'm gonna say this. I had a stepfather, right? And I was the oldest of the sons that was left in the house because my older brother is 45. I'm 39. Right. My brother really resented him, but I didn't. I appreciated him. But what I'm saying to you is that if you really think about it and you have a kid that's resenting you providing for them, man, that's a different type of feeling. And I've watched many men. My grandfather, who married my grandmother after my biological grandfather died, she had 11 kids. He had the 12th kid by her, right? This is what this man did. And I heard family members say after the funeral, at the repast, because I helped officiate the funeral, I want you to hear this. He never did nothing. That's what they said. That was before I came to this space, man. You understand what I'm saying? So look, it's a thankless job. This man helped provide for 12 kids, bro. After my grandfather, biological, had moved on to another family. This is what happened. This is real life story. Now they couldn't appreciate him. Man, they don't give a damn about me. I could be Superman, bro. I'm not providing for 12 people. I got 3 people and a wife in this house. That's who I got. I'm not him. I'm not Black Panther. It's not gonna happen.
So it seems like we're not disagreeing with the principle if it's right condition. We're saying that the situation has changed such where there's such a lack of appreciation and respect for the office.
Yes,
it's no longer worth pursuing.
Right. Yes, Mr. Bennett, you are correct. You are correct, and we ain't signed. Hold on, real quick. You're correct, Mr. Bennett, and then also too, the environment has changed as such that even you know that the Mike Pence rule has to be in effect everywhere you go.
well,
is that not true? Is that not true or not?
Come on, we ain't signing.
I'm saying something different, because while I agree that it's a bad deal, what I am saying is that the only way we correct the Black community is by letting punishment take its course, and punishment needs to happen, because otherwise we're going to have the situation that we constantly have, just being enablers, right? And we don't want to be enablers, right? We want to fix the problem, and the way you fix this problem is like the book says, right? Spare the rod, spoil the child. Children have to see the consequences of out of wedlock pregnancies. They need to see that. And by not allowing children to see that, what we're doing is that we're enabling the 5 to 6 to 16-year-old females to think like, okay, I'm not going to try to get pregnant, but if I do get pregnant, it's okay. Because I see my big sister, my mom, et cetera, et cetera.
But you don't think they're seeing the effects of that now, but yet they're still repeating the behavior. I mean, they're living in these conditions. They're living in they're living in these conditions. They're seeing that it's not optimal. But I think maybe the problem is that because everybody else in the neighborhood might be doing the same thing, they don't know any better, but they are seeing it.
Well, see, the problem is, it's just even though the living conditions are not optimal to me or you, right? To them, it says it's okay, right?
That's what I'm saying, because everyone else is doing it. So, but the fact that again, until you get out of your environment and see there's something else, then how are they going to?
But hear me out. Hear me out.
Go ahead, bro.
It's a different calculus where everybody's in the same neighborhood, but when that single mom can't pay rent and nobody's willing to help her, that she's out on the street. Or when you're seeing the kids, they need help with this and seeing that, and then she's getting publicly shunned, right? When she's not publicly, that shit is no longer publicly accepted in the black church. That's a very different calculus. Because then children be like, I know I don't want no parts of that shit.
I got shunned and shamed. I'm going to welcome Trey to the stage. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and read this super chat.
And before that, guys, I need to jump off.
Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
Appreciate the discussion tonight. You guys have a great weekend.
Don't leave now. Don't leave now.
Trey,
you running away, Mr.
You're
Bennett?
late to the party. First of all, you're late to the party, and I was just reading the chat, and we all know why. You can share that if you want to. So
Thank
you
you
just
for
so
coming
happen
out,
to
Mr.
jump
Bennett.
on down, man. But I might be listening in the background, but it's good seeing you, brother, for real. I haven't seen you in a minute. I hope you're doing well.
Appreciate it, Mr. Bennett.
Yes,
I'm going to
sir.
go and read
Yes,
this
have a
super
great
chat, then we're going to hear from Trey. The super chat is from Gregory Scotland. He says, those men in the baby boom and Generation X did not get any great appreciation for being stepdaddies in the 1980s and 1990s. You're absolutely correct.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scotland, for your super chat. And just remember, y'all can always donate to the Black Man Unfiltered cause. We want to make sure that we get Black Man some sunscreen and some cocoa butter while he's down in Jamaica enjoying himself. So if you want to put in on the cocoa butter fund, y'all go ahead and enter in the super chat and the super stickers. Appreciate it. Come on to the stage, Trey. I know you've been waiting, sir. Welcome to the stage, sir.
Hey, what's going on?
Good to have you, sir. How are you today?
I'm good. That's a whole lot. You know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave it alone.
What you got, Trey?
Black man's my guy. Listen, I think overall in our community, the men have always had a problem with being able to sort of be able to walk away from women if necessary, if need be. I think it's one of the things that's hindered us, and it is our superpower as a man. But the strongest thing that I could do for any woman is just shut it down, not talk to her anymore, not call her anymore, just shut it down. I've noticed that when I do that to a lot of women, I get a completely different reaction from them. I think over time, the incessant need for sex and the hypersexuality of our community has sort of led this sort of female push. We want something from them all the time. So because we want something from them, we're willing to acquiesce to what they want. We're willing to take what they give us, even though it's crap and it's BS, because ultimately we want to have sex with you. So, we'll take it. We'll put up with your disrespect. We'll put up with your weave and your sandals, even though we don't like it. We'll put up with it because ultimately we just want to have sex. And I don't think this is something that's new. I think that this has been happening for as far as I'm concerned, for probably about the last almost 80 to 100 years. I think that black men have just put up with a lot of nonsense they didn't want to, which is why you can disrespect granddaddy and great-granddaddy at his funeral and say things like he wasn't really ish when he was providing for the entire family. Because granddaddy probably didn't say anything. He kept his mouth closed. He kept his feelings to himself, and didn't really put people in their place like he should have. I think
That's what he did, Trey. That's what he did.
So what you're starting to see now, I think what you're starting to see, especially with my generation, and I'm 38 for the record, and for the guys that are younger than me, you're starting to see a lot of men who are saying, no more. We're not putting up with that nonsense. You will respect me, and if you don't respect me, you're going to be out of here, and I'll replace you. Now, while I'm not the biggest fan of passport bros, I don't believe that it's a solution. An option. Excuse me. I don't believe it's a solution. I do believe it's an option, though, and I believe that some men can utilize that option properly. But I think we're seeing a lot of men who are finally saying, "I will not be disrespected, and you will treat me with some respect because I am willing to take care of my family for the rest of their life." I said this to a woman earlier today. Yeah, you may take care of me. This is why my date ended early. That's why I'm here. I said to her, though, you may take care of me for a year or two while I get back on my feet. But baby, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. We are not the same. And therefore, you will not treat me different. You will not treat me with disrespect because I'm willing to take care of you until there's no more breath left in your body. Even if I'm not even on this planet anymore alive, my life insurance and the things that I've set aside will take care of you even in my passing. I'm willing to do the life's work. You're not. So we're not the same. But I think as far as I'm concerned, I wrote this in the chat and I mean this. I won't say the word exactly, but us black men, we got to stop being, we got to stop being pussies. We got to start letting women know straight up, listen, this is the way it goes. If you don't agree with it, you can always go get on somebody else's program. But here, for me, this is Trey's program. This is how it works. You can either take it or leave it, but it doesn't change. This train is always moving forward. It doesn't change for you because this is what you want, or your feelings and emotions are saying that we should do something different.
Sometimes you got to ask yourself, does your feelings produce results? You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times people like to put a lot of stock in feelings and emotions, but my thing is does your feelings and emotion produce something, a beneficial result? That's what I look at. KP, what did you think?
Yeah, I don't deal in the feelings department. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I mean, you and all the guys on the panel probably are sports fans. So we
Right.
know guys that we played with or that we watched on our favorite teams that were quote unquote in their feelings. And the hyper emotionality usually causes your team to lose. You don't win in feelings, you lose. You're always looking for the cool, calm under pressure guys. You're always looking for that guy. The guy that at the moment doesn't bother. And right before I got on the stream, I was reading the article that they've written about Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward 30 years ago won the Heisman Trophy. Cool, calm, and collected. You've never seen Charlie Ward animated, if you think about it. And as you've watched other players come through the league and all these other leagues, you've seen it over and over and over again. These guys that are hyper emotional usually cause you to lose the game. The Antonio Browns, right? The other guys that are just like
and
that.
jerseys off,
Yeah. You can't.
He
The
ain't
Mike
get his way.
Singletary quote. The Mike Singletary quote. You can't
fair.
win with him. You can't win with him.
Pre-concussed Antonio Brown wasn't bad, but after Vontaze Burfict concussed him, he was never the same.
He wasn't the same.
Yeah.
To be
he wasn't
fair,
the same.
he's right.
Yeah, he wasn't the same. Go ahead. I'm passing the mic.
But if you think about guys like Jalen Hurts, man, you rarely see Jalen Hurts get rattled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to answer that too.
And you hold on, R-Pain, and you know for a fact that his father. All right, I'm done.
No, so that's right. Yeah. And listen, it's funny you mentioned Charlie Ward. At one point, there was a sportscaster when he was playing for the Knicks. He says, the best quarterback in New York is playing for the Knicks because both the Giants and the Jets suck, right? He said, best quarterback in New York is playing for the Knicks. He never got a taste of the NFL, but he made the right choice going to basketball. That's how good of an athlete he was. But getting back to what Trey said, I think we're in agreement. It goes back to, again, men who set standards and stick by them. It starts, you start to set a precedence, and once women start to understand that they can't get away with the same old thing, whether they have a good box and they look good or not, that's how it starts. Because at some point, every man around here has to understand that we can't be led by the siren song of getting laid. because it's a bad decision at the time. And, even if it's the hardest thing you've ever done, at some point you're going to have to learn that, and a lot of men don't. And we're still seeing men who have means, money, and position giving it all away because they can't control themselves. Look at the dude from the football guy. He lost $100 million bet for phone sex. So we have to, like, Simon said, we got to stop being enablers, but we enable in a lot of different ways, and not be able to control our sexual drive is one of them. And because sometimes I don't think we understand that men's sexual desire, our sexual demand is a constant. It's been that way since the beginning of time for men, beginning of man. We have a constant need for sex. And because we do, because it's predictable. And since it's predictable, women know how to manipulate. And a lot of times we fall into that kind of trap. So whether it's child detriment or not. So I just think that, we got to just learn. So how do we get these fatherless men to start to understand that they got to gain a level of discernment to become a well-rounded man, even from their sexuality and how they handle it? But then again, we'll see a man who seemingly has it all together fall off the cliff, lose a presidency, or lose a bag. Throughout history, men have given up the bag for sex. Kings, great men. So it's one of those kind of things. I don't know how we fix that, other than keep talking about the right things, and hopefully more men will catch on. It's like telling people to be abstinent. We know it's the best message, but that shit don't work because nature
That ain't the
always.
reality, buddy.
That's right. It's not the reality. So telling men just to have discipline, yeah, it's a good message, but we're never going to get over 5 to 10% of men actually listening. It's just one of those things. Anyway,
what I think? I think the problem is, I think that men have looked at themselves as if the best they can do is have sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the main thing that a man is all about, having sex. If you rewire men to let them know, hey, guess what? You're greater than that. That is a component of being a man, but at the same time, that is a very small component. And if you rewire men's thinking that way, then they wouldn't lead with the least amount of who they are instead of the greatest amount of who they are. Women, they really gravitate toward guys with gravitas. You know what I'm saying? Those guys who know that they can do. You know what I'm saying? Women gravitate to that. And the sex is just an offshoot of that. It's a small part that comes along with it. But if you have a certain gravitas about yourself where you can do, and you can, replace her if need be, people kind of move different. Ain't that right, Grooming the Reviews?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I know this dude who has 15 kids with 15 different women. And I keep asking him the same question. Why don't you put a rubber over that shit? Doesn't like it. I'm getting to the point, like, I don't care if I like it or not. I would definitely put a rubber over it. You're going to have sex, no matter what. You can't avoid it. But protect yourself. You don't know you're going to be with this woman forever or not. You might just want to get you a little pee-pee wet.
Let me ask you a question. Is this guy that you're talking about, is he in America?
Yes.
What's the deterrent? Why is he still making 15 kids with 15 baby mamas? Is he going to court? Is he working on the table?
He's working.
Lost in translation. He's hit the threshold. He can't be taken to court anymore. In most states, in most states, when you hit a certain number of kids and baby mamas, you actually can't be taken for child support anymore.
What? They got a cap on it?
Yeah.
When this happened, I know about that.
No, man, with 23 kids.
Shit, maybe that's why he's having 15 kids.
Wow, that's insane.
I guess they out here getting free skeets, huh?
No.
Ain't no way, man. Ain't no way, man.
Because if you take a guy who makes $50,000 a year, right, He's got
Yeah.
15 kids, and he's on 15 forms of child support. I mean, what are they literally getting them? $20 a
A
piece?
dollar
Yeah,
a week.
Probably nothing.
and the thing is that the courts, you got to remember, the courts are in it for themselves. This is how the judges fund their pensions and their retirement. So
Right.
they're not getting anything out of it.
Because ain't nothing to get.
There you go.
I don't think the guy I'm talking about made even 50. I would say probably close low 40s, mid 30s tops.
Wow.
Yeah, he was housekeeping, so he was just pushing a broom most of the day, wiping tables down, stuff like that, taking the garbage out. I'm not saying it's a bad job, but it doesn't pay as much like
It
a chef
doesn't pay,
does.
right?
Yeah, and I'm not knocking the guy out. He's a great guy, and I keep asking him, dude, protect yourself. I tell a lot of people that too. I'm like, listen,
Wait. You said a man with 15 kids is a great guy.
But you know what? Here's my thing. That doesn't really fly
Yeah,
in the face of what women have been saying. Women have
Yes.
saying a guy has to make 6 figures for him to get with her. And clearly this guy here has
Lost in
proven that was a
translation.
lie.
Lost in translation.
You know what I'm
that's a
saying?
lie, bro.
Bro.
Bro, we was all broke 15 and 16-year-olds, bro. We was all broke 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds. We started driving, and then things started happening. So this old newfound idea that now that I'm 30 something, he has to make 100,000 after I've had all these children. Man, get out of here. It's just it's super sombrero. It's sombrero. So don't even call it cap, R-Pain. Just start saying sombrero.
That's a big brand.
honestly,
right there.
if you tell me a woman comes to me,
Hold on. Even when it comes to that, man, I'm gonna say it. I don't give a fuck. Black women that say that are on some bullshit, because we all know black women love to run the relationship. And a 6-figure guy, you're not going to run that relationship. Point blank, period. Black women love to date compromised men. And that's just the bottom line.
We know what they
No
want.
lies. No lies were told. Go ahead, Trey. Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, here's the issue. The issue is that for whatever reason in our society today, the older the women get, the higher their standards get. It's a very interesting concept, right? The lower your value, the higher your standards get. It's a very weird and backwards sort of thing that happens here. You're 40, and now the man has to make $100,000 when you're at your least, right? You know, I was talking earlier about hoflation, because I believe that hoflation is a real thing. Right. I don't know if you guys know what hoflation is, but hoflation
is very real. Go ahead, explain it, sir.
It's a very real thing. So it's the concept that the men in the past had to do less to get better quality women back in the day, whereas now the men have to do more to get lower quality women. Right. Our granddads and great granddads didn't have to be 6-figure earners to get a top tier woman. Right, because she was beautiful and conservative and modest, took care of the house. You know, she was a wife. Whereas today, if you're not making $150,000 a year, you know, you'd be lucky not get something that is, in my opinion, low class. A lot of the women, in my opinion, are just flat out low class. Right. So hoflation is a real thing. The issue with this entire thing is that us as men. And I know this is unpopular opinion because we all want to have sex. I am a part of this group, but we keep smashing them. And so even in 2023, they still have yet to be able to distinguish the difference between I just want to knock you down and move on with my life versus I want to be with you. They still can't figure that out. And yet we continue to keep doing what we do. So there's a level of confusion. So when she does get smashed by a guy who's making $250,000 a year, in her mind, she's thinking, this guy wants to be with me. In actuality, baby, you just got put on the roster. That's what actually happened. So, but they can't conflate it. They can't figure out the two.
Well, I just have a question. Because everybody keeps saying that she has a 6-figure demand, because she doesn't. Women do not have a 6-figure demand. And the reason why I'm going to say this, why is Pookie on her couch right now eating hot Cheetos? Right? But she got a 6-figure demand.
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between a demand and what she can actually get.
Well, I'm just saying. Pookie is on the couch right now eating hot Cheetos.
Playing PS5.
Because that's
Right?
what she can actually get. That doesn't mean that's not what she demands.
Well, no, because if you have standards, you're not
Are you
can't-
serious right now? Are we talking about women and
I'm very
standards?
I'm
We talking about women and standards right now? They don't have any. They don't have any standards, bro.
if there's a standard, then why there's hot Cheeto crumbs on the couch?
Because there's no
We
standard.
all know why.
Exactly.
There's no standard.
We all know why.
I got a question here. How do we know Cheetos is not pretzels or something else?
No, I'm gonna tell you what Cheetos got. Cheetos
Because
got.
let me handle this. Let me handle this.
That's what.
Because
That's what
hot
Cheetos got.
Hot Cheetos is the snack of long dick champions, cat daddies. There you go.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. I will give you that one. I'll let you pass that one. You got that, man.
He's a homemade
The
snack.
truth of the matter is, women don't have any standards for the men they want. They have standards for the guy who might be coming to them and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna make you work for it. That's why there's women who actually like a guy and try to make him wait 90 days, so to speak, and figuratively speaking, while the guy they like, he's smashing it for free. And the dude who she said, man, this might be a good catch. So I'm gonna withhold one thing I've been given to everybody else. I'm gonna withhold it from him, so it proves that he likes me. And she just doesn't realize that as soon as he gets it, he's gonna bounce because he knows she's stroking everybody. Now it's just his turn, and once he gets it, he's going because it don't take it. You don't need to make him wait. If he's gonna come back, you need to know he's gonna come back the first time he has post-nut clarity. And that could be 90 days or the day after. If he, so he's just got to get to that point. You make a guy wait, he's going to resent the hell out of you because he knows you smashing somebody. Every time he calls you and you don't answer the phone, somebody's busting those cheeks.
Most times when people are paying, when they put a price tag on themselves so high, 9 times out of 10, they can't perform the required duties. So they just say, hey, it's just going to take $1 million to get me. Okay.
Yes.
And we already know why they show up. It's because of the.
It's the world's biggest dick.
You know what I'm saying? That's the reason. They don't put a price tag on that. You know what I'm saying? They don't put a price tag on that.
Hey, lost in translation. It's interesting what R. Payne was saying and what Trey was saying, because this is it. Like you and I would laugh. Everybody on this panel as a man would laugh if Nick Chubb came around tomorrow and said he wants a max contract. That's what they're essentially doing, bro.
Right.
You've had a ACL tear twice, and you come and talking about give me 200,000. That's what you're asking for, essentially. With 4 people that came out, you've had 4 people, like you had 4 human beings, and then you come to me asking for 200,000.
Crazy.
I should be getting paid to even take this on. Like there should be a government stipend for me to take this deal or grant.
Like I said, they need to be paying us, man. They need to be paying us.
No,
You know
but even if you get paid, bro, I'm telling you, man, you gotta let it burn. You gotta let it burn a little bit. You gotta let it burn. I'm telling you.
Welcome to the stage, a gentleman by the name of Mandrell. Mandrell, welcome to the stage, sir.
Oh Christ, here we go.
What's up? What's you lot up to? What's you lot up to? By the way, we ain't signing. I got something to talk to you about.
All right,
later.
cool. You can contact me on WeChat.
Yeah, gotcha.
What up, Mandrell? What you got on it, man?
What's going on, people? How y'all doing?
What's
So,
happening?
I just see the subject and whatnot. I had a little time. Why are black men scared of black women?
Yeah, you like
Is that
that
what we're
title,
talking
don't
about?
you?
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
what we talking about.
No, I don't like that title. It's
Well, tell us
stupid.
why you don't like it, man.
Because it's dumb. That's not true. Black men are not afraid of black women.
You think?
I know.
Why so?
Which one of you are afraid of black women?
Facts.
I don't think nobody are.
Well, you're Greek. Hold on. Well, you're.
I'm terrified of black women.
Man,
No,
Joe,
you're
we're the
not.
minority, sir.
No, you're not,
We're the minority,
Trey.
sir. Man, Joe, we're the minority.
Trey is in no way afraid of black women.
Man, Joe, I'm afraid of black women. I am a little bit afraid of
No, no, you're not. You're
Bro,
not, dude.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Go ahead.
Hear me out. Because if I marry her, she gets to take half. I have kids with her. I'm on child support.
That's any
It don't
woman.
matter. No, but hear me out. Well, I'm scared of American women too. So yeah.
There you go. I'm just saying, it's just women in the West. It's not just an American problem.
Yeah, I'm scared of American women, so sure. But I'm just saying, like, man. But no. But hear me out. Honestly, the reason why I was scared is a little bit strong, but I would say the reason why black men defer to black women is because they are the first authority figure that a lot of us see. Right? The single mom, mother's the authority figure. At school, females are the authority figure, right? So I wouldn't say scared, but I would say defer to. And you can see it on the panels, right? You got men, like for example, right? I'm in China, right? When Chinese men are talking, women just shut the fuck up and they'll wait until they're done. But I see it on black panels when the women start talking, even in the middle of a black man sentence, all the black men will just defer to her.
But brother, can I ask you a question in regards to that statement that you made?
Yeah, sure.
Is it like when you equate black men, I sort of like try to keep us in our own little lanes as far as age, capacity, and time frame that we were young men. Are you talking about like a black man in a certain age group, like 20?
Let's say
ages.
let's say Gen X. Let's just say Gen X because Gen X is most of these panels are Gen X, right?
So define the age group for Gen X because I get it all confused.
Hold on a second, y'all. Before we get started, I want to read the super chat right quick. And we want to welcome Hink to the basement. Welcome Hink from the basement to the show. Welcome, Hink. And I'm gonna Black David, could you go ahead and put that super chat up, man, from Greg Scotland? I'm gonna go ahead and get that out the way so we can continue the conversation. Greg Scotland says black men need to stop falling for the pro-black save the community type of females. They have used that as an emotional tool on black men for years. Thank you so much for the super chat, Greg.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Black Man Filter would appreciate it when we use that to get some more cocoa butter while he's down there in Jamaica with his wife. Appreciate you, sir. All right, go ahead, y'all. Go ahead, continue. Welcome to the show, Hank.
Yeah, 30. I would
What's
say
going
35.
on now?
How you doing, sir?
It's all
Also,
good.
bro. Sorry, but I just wanted to say, you asked the question, so it's age. I would say ages 35 up, and of course not all, but just something that is noticeable, especially on the panels. And bro, another thing I want to say: black men in jail are not the strongest warrior class of the black community. It's the black men who stay out of jail that's the strongest and the warrior class of the community.
No, brother, because most of us who sort of had to navigate this life outside of those premises, we've had to deal with everything in its full capacity. We've had to, I would say, and that's why I say in this phenomenon over the last 30-something years, because, you know, in the early 80s, you know, you as a young man, you understood that you had to have some type of grace within yourself. You had to sustain certain levels of aptitude in the community, in school. Your parent, your mother, father, or both parents expected you to respect people within the community, within the school. Whether you lived in Section 8 housing or whether you lived in a house, your parent held you to a standard to keep that space functional. You know, boys took out the garbage based on what they was told. And it's just the last couple of years when those mothers was taken out of those homes due to that pandemic of crack, when a lot of young brothers was killing each other, a lot of fathers were killed, brothers, uncles, everybody was killed. Now you see the downfall of that. You see the situation of that. And I say the warrior big class because you're at your, when you're able to, as a man, you build muscle when you're young. You don't build muscle when you get older. So when you're at your strongest,
Speak for yourself.
Well, what I'm saying is you have to maintain it at some
point. Brother. First of all, majority. Hold on. Majority.
I don't know the majority of dudes that's doing that.
Majority of black men are in jail. First and foremost, majority of black men are not. Never in history of America, majority of black men have been in jail. That's just not true. Secondly, it's the black man who grew up in the same community as the dude that went into jail, but he found a way to make it out. Like that's the whole celebrating jail culture, bro. You can't up here and sit here and say that the black men are the smartest and strongest are the ones in jail. That is insane. I mean, am I the only motherfucker on this panel Like, I
You're
mean,
not.
No, you're not.
You,
You're not.
you are
You're
in
not
fact the only motherfucker
because
on the panel.
wait.
God damn.
Hey, you set yourself up for that with Trey with the
What
ball.
was it?
Damn,
No,
Trey.
you're not. You're not, because one thing that you can't say is that we haven't navigated a system that oppresses the people that look like us and then take that credit away from us by us getting older. Because I've seen many men. I'm 39 years old. Many of my friends, my brother, and all of those guys died before 25. So essentially, since they died young, typically the black community gives them credit for dying young versus me living older. Is that not what you
right.
usually see?
That's
This is
backwards.
some of the most backwards, dumbass shit I've ever seen in my life. So
No
I'm
offense
not
to
accepting
anybody.
it.
No
I'm
offense
not
to everybody.
accepting it.
No.
Everything in nature that dies early was weak. Everything in nature,
They
but
call it the
somehow,
Facts.
survival of the fittest.
That is
right,
fact.
survival of the fittest, right? So if I'm 44, I come from North Philadelphia, one of the worst places, most violent places on American soil. Yet I can go to school, I can go abroad, and I can do all these things with a single mother. How the fuck is a dude in jail more stronger or more mentally stronger than me? Fuck out of here.
Hank,
Anybody's in jail, I think, is a moron.
Hank from the basement. What's up? What you got on the thing? Welcome to the show, sir. Glad you can make it.
What's that? What's happening now?
What's happening, Hank? What you got on the topic, man?
That's it's a whole lot of crying going on up here.
Ain't it though?
God damn.
A whole lot of
Ain't it
tenderness.
though? Golly.
It's a whole lot of tenderness.
I'm just trying to figure this out. So most of you motherfuckers come from a single parent household, but y'all complain about single mothers trying to get stepdaddies. I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either, Hank. They tried to argue me down over there on Jay Penn's panel about stepdaddies. I'm like, y'all niggas crazy.
Bro.
Look,
Absolutely insane.
I did a show on it Wednesday, man. I wanted to
make it to that, Hank. I really did. I wanted to make it to that show.
I'm gonna let y'all explain y'all point, and then I'm gonna go after y'all.
Hank.
Go ahead, Hank. Go ahead, Hank. Hold on, we ain't trying to let Hank finish. Let Hank.
Wait, hold on. Let me just ask. So, Hank, are you saying there should be stepdaddies? Do I got that right?
Yeah, I don't have no problem with them, man.
Okay.
Let me. I was beneficial of my grandfather was a stepdad, or let me say my great grandfather was a stepfather, and of course that made him step grandfather, I guess, if that's a title you want to give him. But I benefited from his knowledge and his teachings. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the man I would be today. And half of you motherfuckers wouldn't be where y'all at today now if it wasn't for a stepfather. Somebody had to come and take care of your ragged ass because your punk ass daddy wasn't around. Somebody had to do something for your weak ass.
Yes.
So if this bitch ass wasn't around for whatever reason, unless that motherfucker fell deceased, if he went to jail, he's a punk ass motherfucker for going to jail. Unless he was wrongfully convicted. Now that's something different. But if his punk ass wasn't around, somebody had to take care of your snotty no ass. Somebody had to make sure your mama kept you straight. And when you got out of line, somebody had to straighten your ass up. Because we know your mothers couldn't do it by themselves. That's your ass gonna turn into a sissy. Or your ass gonna end up in jail like the rest of them motherfuckers. So there had to be a man that had to straighten your back out. So you can stand up straight instead of sit down and pee all the goddamn time. So no, I don't have no problem with that, because like I said, y'all probably got sisters who's probably single. Now they might get single because they got divorced. So now they out there looking for somebody. Are you as an uncle, you gonna take on your nephew? No, most of y'all not. Y'all not willing to open your homes up to your nephews or your nieces. No, you're not doing that. So what are you gonna do? You gonna leave them out there to hang? That's family. I'll be goddamn. So what? If a man comes in there that helps your sister out or your mom out, as long as he don't do anything to disrespect or hurt them kids, I ain't got a problem with him. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, this is the Dr. Umar theory.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Say absolve black women.
Go ahead,
from
Trey.
their mistakes. Here's the issue that I have, because I do come from a single mother a home, and at the end of the day, I won't absolve my mother for the poor decisions that she made. She made the decision to get with my deadbeat ass piece of shit daddy, not me. I didn't make that decision. She chose him. She chose to not marry before she carried. She chose him. She picked him. If my father wasn't shit, I shouldn't have been here. Plain and simple. That's how this goes. So this idea that, oh, some man is supposed to come in and step in and fix all the problems that my mother helped create is ridiculous to me. No, I will not help a single mother. No, I will not help my sister who decided to divorce her husband. Now, the question is why did you get a divorce? If he ain't beating on you, you really don't really have a good reason for it. Now, if it is for abuse, I can understand it. That's a different story. But outside of that, you had no real reason to divorce your husband, and I'm not stepping in to help your ass. A lot of the times, these women create these fucking problems, and then they want help. They want somebody to come and fix it for them. Nope, I'm not doing it, and I don't expect other men to do it, even though I was the recipient of my uncle stepping in. He didn't have to, though. He had his own kids. He chose to do it on his own. And good for him, and great for me, but he didn't have to do it, and I don't expect other men to do it either.
So I want to see.
Now, go ahead, Leon. I'm glad to hear.
So here the thing is, now when you like, of course, like your family members, you help your family members out. That's blood, right? At the end of the day, family is what you got. So I'm not talking about like uncles helping their sisters out and things like that. But I want to highlight something here, ladies and gentlemen, because when Hank stepped on the stage, he had a lot of vibrato. He came with the thing like being a real man, the whole Dr. Umar tropes and building a community and things like that, right? But do you notice something? Do you notice in all of these talks, right? We don't focus on the next generation. You see, and that's one of the biggest problems, right? Is that we need to be as a community more forward thinking. And when I said my thesis earlier, when you do what Hank says, you're showing young girls that it's okay. When you do what Hank says, you're showing girls that it's okay. You know how am I right? Because we've been going through this for 50 years. And I'll close. I'll make my statement. I'll close there.
Yeah, but the thing is,
hold on, Mandra. Let me respond to Trey and we ain't trying. First thing first, you look. Let me say this: you don't have to marry them. Now, Trey, if you don't help your niece and nephew, man, that's on you. That's your business. Even though you've seen your uncle help you, and you realize the benefits that you had, if you wouldn't be willing to help your niece and nephew, regardless, so you're gonna hold it against your niece and nephew for your bum ass sister for making a bad decision? Yeah, that's not right. It's not her. That's not their fault. She made a trash decision by leaving her husband. But dude, you gonna hold that against your niece and nephew? No, I'd never do that. I would never do that. Because it's not their fault, they're innocent. So what I'm saying is, dude, I'm not gonna sit there and down a stepfather. That's what I'm not gonna do. If a man decides he won't come do it, he can do it. I'm not gonna down him for doing that. I'm not gonna look at him like a less of a man. No, matter of fact, he's more man than a lot of these motherfuckers out here to even take on that thing. And we are signing. It's not about Dr. Umar bullshit. Fuck you with that shit. It's nothing like that. I'm on some different shit. Dog, but we talk about the community. How you gonna build a community without building the community? Because part of them kids in the community.
Brother, I just told you. The community is the children, and what you just said, right?
So you got to shit on the children because you feel like the mother's benefit.
She's shitting on the children.
You are shitting,
bro.
She herself.
I'm trying to save her.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Go out there and find these kids' daddies. Go out there and find these kids' daddies. Tell them go back home and get your family back.
Responsibility to find their daddies.
So what the fuck are you gonna do then? You just gonna let them fucking motherfuckers be out there?
My responsibility is to be a father to my children, not to somebody else's.
So Trey, let me ask you: are you dating a woman right now?
No.
Okay, if you was dating a woman, right? You supposed to be a stepfather too. You ain't gotta be married to be a stepfather. You damn near looked at like even if you're just dating her and y'all in a serious relationship or y'all living together, whatever.
Kids, bro. I don't date women with kids at all under any circumstances.
But that woman gotta suffer with your kids.
She doesn't have to do shit she don't want to do.
Oh, well, that's what you're asking to do if you dating a woman, dog.
Hang on.
So what's not good for the goose, not good for the gander.
Hang on. I am very upfront about my situation with my child. If that's something she's not interested in, she has every opportunity to walk away and say that's not for me. The same way I have the same opportunity to say you have a child, I don't want to date you.
But how selfish does that sound, dog? It's not about being selfish. I'm offering this to you, but I got kids. It's a choice. But you can't have kids.
It's a choice. 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 It's a choice.
But I got kids. But you can't have 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 kids. But
That's my preference.
Hink,
That's
hold
my
on,
preference.
stop. Hold on, Trey. Hink, you're equating the two people as they're equal. He has to pay for her for life. She doesn't have to pay shit. So
Fact.
at the end of the day,
What do you mean?
look, hold,
What do you mean you got to pay
hold
for
on,
life?
Hink. When I give my daughters over to a man, I expect them to be taken care of by that man. I don't expect them to take care of the man, sir. You don't expect that from your daughter if you got one. We all know that. So we're not going to play that kind of game. Look, this is all we're saying Hink, is this. The thankless job that our elders did, that they got shitted on for doing, we're not doing it anymore, sir. This is where the pension ran out, right? The 401k that we don't get for this shit, it's gone. They never gave it to us. They never gave it to our grandpas and our uncles. They got nothing for it. They got spat on, they got shed on, and then what they said is he didn't really do that much. I heard that out of people's mouths before, sir. I'm not about to do that. And I watched these people pick who they wanted. And when they picked the people that they wanted, they told me, you can't tell me shit. So since I can't tell you nothing, I guess I won't say anything.
I beg your
Who
pardon.
who told you that, dog? Who said that to you?
Bruh, I watched a black man take care of 12 kids. I just gave this story earlier. Watched a black man take care of 12
Well,
kids.
I wasn't
11
on here
wasn't
earlier, bro.
his.
I'm here now, though. I'm here
Okay.
now.
All right, Hank,
So
here we go. Here goes the story. I watched my grandfather take care of 11 kids that wasn't his. I helped put him in the ground. I helped do the funeral. I heard people say he really didn't do nothing. Now, if he didn't really do nothing, what the fuck do you think I'm gonna do that's gonna make him feel better about me, sir?
so it sound like your family ain't shit.
No,
That's
no, it
what it
sounds
sound
like
like. They
that's
don't
how the guy.
appreciate what
No,
that man
Hank,
did. They sound like they ain't shit.
Hank.
Yes.
Hank, listen, that happens all over the United States for black men over US. Don't act
Oh,
like
well,
you ain't
dog,
never heard no story like that.
yeah,
Don't act like you ain't never heard no story.
I'm gonna say it again.
Hold on, Trey.
I
Hold
got
on,
a
Trey.
couple members in my family that are stepfathers,
Trey, hold on,
and they don't come at them like that, not with that type of disrespect. Now, I'm not gonna sit there and say it doesn't happen, but I have in my family. From my, I heard what you say, dog, but I'm telling you from my adult experience, just like you shared with yours, on them like that. But I understand.
Hey, Hank, can I ask you a question? Do you know
Yes,
one
sir.
of the
You
largest groups of men who actually file for divorce? Do you know one of the largest groups because it's a small group of men that actually file for divorce. But of that small group of men that file for divorce, do you know which particular group files for divorce the most out of that small group? I'll help you out. It's stepdads. Stepdads file for divorce the most. They are actually twice as likely to file for divorce.
Well, that's something new. I ain't never heard that before.
So this whole stepdad thing, listen, I understand what he's saying. It makes sense. I would never shit on a man who wants to step up and be that's not even the right way. Let me not say step up. A man who wants to step in, I will never shit on him. However, I'm not encouraging it either. I don't believe that you are doing it properly, absolving women from their poor mistakes, their poor decision making. There's an idea that, well, if this man don't work out, I'll just get another one. That's how a lot of these women look at it. They look at it like, okay, well, my husband will work out. There's going to be another man that's going to come along. You have to remember that women have an abundance mentality. They don't see
Insert
the L's
man
in
here.
They don't see
Insert
the L's in
man
this.
here is the idea.
Yeah,
Insert
they don't
man
see
here.
that. They don't see the L's in this. They think, I know women right now who got married, had their kids, got divorced, and would tell you straight up, oh, I ain't tripping. There'll be another man. He'll come. He'll help me take care of these kids. Even though she has an ex-husband, pays child support, picks his kids up on time, no issues. She knows there's going to be another man. We have to get to a point where we stop letting these women understand that, oh, the man's always going to be there for you. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. That's my only issue.
Dog,
I'm not shitting on stepfathers.
Trey, I'm gonna go and disappoint you. There will never be a day. There'll never be a day for that. There's always going. Look, we've seen some of the ugliest women and the fattest women in the world get men. Somehow, some way, they get pregnant. Who's fucking these heifers? I know it ain't me. I heard a lot of y'all say I wouldn't do it, but y'all be the first one not at the back door sliding them goddamn cheeks.
I gotta wait.
Them fat, ugly, disgusting ass women with 3 to 4 kids. Y'all be knocking them down, and guess what y'all mess around and do? Drop another one in them.
So let me.
So now
let me
she
let
got
me-
Boy,
four thanks to
boy, you are crazy.
thanks to we ain't signing.
let- let- first of all, King, you over there with those fat backs, brother, because I'm in China. Ain't nothing but them chicks over here, brother. So you in the land of fat backs. So second,
I was gonna say, are there any fat women in China?
No, not really.
It's damn near against the law, man.
Not really, dude. No, they don't play that shit over there, man.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say this real quick, man. Look, if you're gonna be a stepfather, you're telling the children that are you're telling children who are looking at that it's okay to have okay to have kids out of wedlock, and it's okay to have kids and have different men raise them up. And you do it by doing that, you're destroying the black community, brother. And that's real talk. I'm not even trying to be funny. That shit destroys the black community.
Because what do they say? We ain't signing. They say, you ain't my daddy.
Right. Well, it's insert man here for black women. It's like, okay, this one goes, I can get another black man. Insert man here, like you said.
So you think stepdaddies are ruining the community more than drugs, lack of income, lack of opportunity, anything else? You think stepdaddies are the main source of?
No,
we're not saying. I never once said that this is all or nothing. There's many factors why the black community is suffering, many, and one of those major contributions to the black community suffering is black women's opinion about marriage and fathers. And it's enabled by stepfathers. And that's, I mean, bro, man, I mean, you can laugh at me all you want, but it sound.
How can we have a nuanced conversation about this matter?
We are having a nuanced conversation.
Let me just say this.
Come on, R-Pain.
Listen, I would never encourage a single man on his grind to marry a woman with kids. However, I would tell him that if you do that, you got to go through extra steps to vetting the situation. I say with women with children, they'll be better off marrying men if they're going to get married with men who already have kids as well. So they'll be equally yoked from the standpoint of understanding that they're bringing extra kids to the family. But a single man on his grind, you need to go start your own legacy. That's for sure. You should never reward. I mean, it's always, like Hank said, it's will always be a man, even a single man, doing this shit. But I think most guys go in without the understanding that they're going in at a disadvantage. They're going in for love for the woman. They don't set the boundaries for the kids. They have responsibility with no authority, which is the worst freaking place to be in any situation. And so it's bad. But that doesn't help the kids either. You know, so and then you're also marrying the guy who's fucking her. And let me tell you, this chick gave her best to another dude, and he's still fucking her for the most part. If they don't have a bad relationship,
because he's been doing it.
She goes over there to hand off the kid. They say,
God.
Man, come on, man.
R-Pain, R-Pain, hold on.
Is that what you think, R-Pain? Think they still knocking down the ex-husband or the baby daddy?
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
R-Pain, here's my thing, though.
You better find you a goddamn virgin, R-Pain.
That is a loser mentality if I've ever heard it.
No, wait a minute.
R-Pain, no.
These guys ain't busting them out from time to time.
R-Pain, that is such a loser mentality if I ever heard it.
It has nothing to do with losing. It's just true.
Yes, it does. I mean, losers think like that. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, R-Pain. Here's the thing, R-Pain. Hold on. Let me explain.
Listen, it's not all or nothing. It's not every woman. But to tell me you don't think every so often a baby daddy ain't busting a chick down, it's just bullshit. You can't be that naive.
I'm not naive. It's just
booty call come from.
Hold on. Lost in translation.
Hey, man, Gerald, I gotta be honest
hold
with
on.
you, man. Hang on. I gotta
hold on. One second.
I done spent the block on my baby mama a few times.
While she was with somebody, Trey?
What?
Hold on a second, y'all.
Yes.
One mic, y'all. One mic.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it don't happen, but
shout out to the trash and hoes. Shout out to the
Hold on,
trashy
saying.
hoes.
Come on, we ain't signing.
I want you to highlight something because this is my point, and this goes to show how fucking selfish we are. I'm talking about the next generation of kids and how they perceive that behavior. Not one person on this panel is talking about that. We keep going back to us and our dicks and this woman, that woman. The point
What's
is
the point of talking about it? They ain't listening to us right now
listen.
anyway. Why are we talking about it?
The point is just that we do the stepfather thing because we saw our fathers do the stepfather thing. Women do the stepfather thing because they saw their mothers do it. Because they internalize that as that shit is okay. Now, the point I'm trying to make and why it's so detrimental, and it's not the only thing that's detrimental, but what is the communication to the next generation? As men in our 30s and 40s, we shape Black America for the next 15 to 20 years. If we are truly leaders, then that's what we're talking about. Shaping the future for the next 20 years, because that's what true leadership is about. So to sit on here and say you're not to sit on here and say that you're a real man if you're a stepdad, well, what is your action consequences 15 years down the road, bro? Because that's the thing, because we can sit here and talk about her best years. That shit is not important right now. What's important is what type of future are you giving that Black girl, and what type of future are you giving that Black boy? And that's why I'm saying this shit is wrong.
You know, the nuanced part of this conversation, Hank and Mandrell, before y'all came up, we were talking about how being a stepdaddy back in the day was different. You know what I'm saying? Being a stepdaddy back in the day, you actually got something out of the deal where the kids were respectful and the woman used to cook for you. You know, you came over to a lady's house and you became a stepdaddy, you got something out of the deal. I
got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rabbits, you name.
You know what I'm saying? You could at least get a hot meal out of the day.
You get the whole cooked greens,
but
man,
I'm
not the
telling
canned
you, man,
greens. They give you gory greens now, dog.
You know what I mean? You got
but lost in translation.
Man.
These heifers ain't cooking no more. Even the women without kids ain't cooking. They can't cook. So what the hell are we looking for?
So I think
all they gonna do is DoorDash or some shit.
I think that speaks more to what we ain't signing was saying.
That's why we ain't doing
it. No, we ain't signed this. We ain't signed this on some different shit. Again, I'm not gonna sit there and say a man's weak just because he chooses to be a stepdaddy. Don't make him less of a man.
We're not saying that.
Well, no, that's what he said. That's what he said.
No, we're not saying that. What he's saying is that we shouldn't reward people for, you know.
No, that's the problem. That's what I take issue. Hold on, that's what I take issue with. Right, that statement right there. Who is being rewarded?
Well, I didn't say that either. What I'm saying,
who's gaining what? Who's gaining anything?
Somebody's gaining something.
The child is if he or she has a stepfather.
The mother is gaming. She's
gaining
the only one winning.
Gaining
the
what?
mother's the only one winning.
How's she winning?
Because she gets masculinity, leadership, and discipline for her child. She gets a replacement for it.
If she was married, but if she was married, she would get that anyway, right?
But we're talking about 80% of the community is not married.
But if she marries if she's married and the kid's a stepdad, she is married now. So my point is as long as the child gets to see a good example of masculinity in the house, what difference does it make? Is what I'm asking, gentlemen.
Let me ask you this: hold on, Mandrell. Let me ask you this: seeing Uncle Herb come visit your mama every day is not a substitute for having a father in the home. Let's be honest. These guys are not marrying.
But a stepfather.
These guys are not marrying women. But if he was a stepfather,
and that's a mistake,
and he stayed there, then that's the issue.
And that's my thing. That's the mistake. Why they're not marrying them?
These women aren't marrying these gentlemen.
You wouldn't be a stepfather if you're not married, though.
Exactly.
Hold on. Medrell, here's the problem. Medrell, here's the problem right here. Okay, say you and a woman get married, right?
Okay.
You don't have any kids. She don't have any kids. You get married and you have children. According to Black demographics, Black marriages last about 5 years. So let's say you last 10 years, right? When she's no longer happy, she's gonna dump your ass. You know why? Because there's another Black man that is willing to be a stepfather. So that makes your place replaceable or redundant
all the time.
She doesn't have to work through things with you because Hank is going to be your son's stepdad. She doesn't have to go through counseling or whatever because Hank says he can be your son's stepdad. There's
Next
always
man
a
up.
replacement. There's always a replacement for you. So that is dangerous, because why doesn't she should work shit out with you when she says, I can replace you? And then now your son has to grow up with a pseudo father instead of his biological father.
So we are signing. Did your stepdaddy whoop your ass? Is that why you so hostile towards him?
Come on.
That motherfucker beat the shit out of you. I see what's going on here.
Stop.
He beat the brakes off your ass. And now you mad and bitch.
Sign language not allowed in the barbershop.
Stop with the sign language.
That motherfucker whooped the shit out of your ass.
First of all, unlike your raggedy ass, I was raised by my father. So thank you very much.
You sure he's your real father? He's not your stepfather?
I don't know. We gotta ask Kirk Franklin. We gotta ask Kirk Franklin. But see,
Kirk Franklin,
you know,
he ain't lying. He went through it. He thought his daddy was his daddy until he found out that goddamn truth.
That might be the wildest scenario to ever find out your dad, to be at the funeral for what you thought was your dad, and to know your actual dad is at that same funeral. That's insane. Right?
Hey Trey, did you notice one thing that they always left out of the story when you watch that documentary? Is his father said, I was a young boy. So that led me to believe that the father is significantly younger than the mother. And they did not want to reveal his father's age for a reason.
Bruh, the best part to me of that documentary, the best part of that documentary to me is when she finally was caught. Like when she was finally caught, she had to basically own up to it. Bruh, she put her mask on. Did y'all notice that?
I see.
Yeah, but hold on.
Hang on, bro. Hang on. She put her mask on because typically when women are caught and shit, there's an escapism. There's a shield that they need. So her shield was, because she couldn't get up and go run away. She put her mask on inside all of a sudden, and then finally, when she really realized that, okay, you got to tell the truth, she got up and she left. 53 years is a long time to lie to somebody.
All right. Anyway, so Mandrell, you understand the logic in that scenario, right? Where your wife can dump your ass because there's a stepdaddy around the corner.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but my thing is this, man. If you're gonna go into any relationship with that mentality, you should not at all.
Right.
That should not be in your mind if you're gonna engage with a woman. And if you're looking for a serious relationship with a woman, you cannot have that mentality, dude. If you're gonna marry someone, you have no choice but to be balls to the walls with it. Hold on, stop. A marriage is all or nothing. Either you put your all into it, or you do nothing. Hold on. Is it a gamble we ain't signing? Absolutely it is. Now, if you want to take precautions like prenuptial agreements and whatnot, fair enough, do that. But you put your all into a marriage, or you don't do it at all. That's why marriages fail. Because if one person is in all in, the other person is in halfway or 3/4, it's not going to work. You've already doomed your marriage to fail before you even started. You can't have these thoughts in your mind if you're going to marry somebody.
How many American women have that all or nothing mentality in marriage, brother?
Here's the thing. You catch them at the right time, quite a few of them do.
Sure.
Hold on a second, y'all. Hold on a second, man. Before we cook on that, I got a video that I want y'all to see. This is the Kirk Franklin thing, man.
I don't care about Kirk Franklin. Why are we talking about that faggot?
No, I'm gonna tell you why.
Stop. Hold on,
I'm gonna tell you why we're gonna talk about it.
The guy's a queer. Why are we talking about
it?
Yes, he is, Harpain. Stop it.
Hey, Mandra, he a what?
Black David.
What?
He's a. You want me to say it again?
Black David, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll the foot.
Which one is it?
The one I just sent you in the back.
God damn it, Black David.
I didn't see the link. Sorry, my bad.
Black David, do you got to call tech support, brother?
Somebody get the Geek Squad.
Blow it up, Black David.
That's my bad, Lex. She got it.
All right, come on, Lex. You got to unmute it.
Me in 2023.
All right, there you go. Back
and
it up. There you go.
Prepare me for what God had in store for me in 2023.
Fair use.
Saved message. If you would like to talk to me about the rumor that is floating around out there, call back. Just remember, as I told you once, I will not lie to you about anything. End of message. Delete. Resave.
Mr. Rick, on his own, he gets a DNA test, swabs himself, gives those swabs to my good childhood friend Melody, and says, hey, everybody's running their mouth. If Kirk wants to know if there's any truth to this or any possibility, he can take these swabs and do whatever he wants to do. Because Mr. Rick doesn't know. He's just responding to the rumors.
And we probable paternity, 99.99999%.
Percent what?
Yes, he's your father. Right there.
I'm going to text you.
Enter.
I'm Rick Hubbard. Hey, my name's Kirk. You know, I see. Hey, didn't know.
I didn't, man. And had I known, you would have known. And I would have been
You didn't. You didn't know. All right. She said, this boy's the daddy. He wasn't there. This other one is the daddy. He didn't know. But the baby gets dropped. How does that happen?
Probability of paternity?
Yes, ma'am.
100%. How's that possible? It's not, baby. I can swear on my dead mother's grave, Rick Hubbard is not your father. I don't know what happened, how this paternity test came back 99.95%. But I really would like to get to the bottom of it.
Is she 100% in
This
mental health?
I cannot accept because this is not true. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart on this.
Two tests that I put in front of you. I need to hear you. I need to hear you clearly. The little Kirk, the little boy Kirk needs to hear you. Are you saying that you reject the results of these two tests? That's what I need to hear.
Yes. My denial, is that going to put a wedge between you and I?
Yes. Okay. Yes. If you can't give me this, no hug, no word of encouragement, no sugar, no joke, nothing can substitute what I deserve and what I've needed and what I've missed.
He just wants the truth. The DNA. The DNA. The DNA. Yes.
I need my mama.
And I need my son too. I have wanted this so badly.
If my mama watches this, I want her to know.
And I still can't have you.
She worried about the bag.
That I have lost so much not having you. And it would have been really, really, really nice to get that from you.
Man, his mom is a fucking G though, because she kept that shit no matter what.
Even in the face.
Yeah,
of two separate 99.99%.
That's a real gangster right there. Go up there, like, is that you? Hell no.
No, here we go. Here's the problem I got with all this nonsense. We can't even give him that. If y'all don't want to give her the stepdaddy shit, you can't give her that. Can't call her a G. Call her a fucking slut, whore. It's a scandalous bitch. Whatever you want.
We're not gonna do that.
Okay, well then give it a stepdaddy. You can't have it both ways.
She got to eat that.
You can't have it both ways. She got to have it.
Eat that.
I agree with you, man.
You got to eat that.
Right.
She's a trifling ass helper for that.
You got trifling ass helper.
She's a trifling whore. That's
Right.
exactly what
If you're gonna give it to her, give it to her. You can't have it both ways, fellas.
But my whole thing is that did y'all miss?
But you can't celebrate the same trash behavior.
Hold on. Did you hear what Kirk Franklin said? And this speaks to more of what Hink said. Hink said, just like Kirk Franklin said in this situation, please speak to the little boy Kirk, because that's who needs to hear, I'm sorry. And she couldn't even give that to him. But this is what we're dealing with. And I see why we ain't signed that says, hey, we need to take a step back and look at stuff like this, because if not, we're going to continue to have little Kirks being hurt behavior and finding out exactly what's really going on years later. And to think that the person who you thought was your father, which was this stepdaddy, allegedly buried, was his dad, and he was dead. And to find out that his real daddy, who he should have had a relationship, is alive. Do you know what type of mind trip that is? You know what I'm saying? We need to start having honest conversations about these topics, man, instead of just calling people names.
A part that y'all missed. Hold on, Trey. A part that y'all missed on it is, if you go back and watch it, it's a documentary on his page. The part that you missed is he had so much animosity towards his stepfather, a guy that he buried that helped take care of him, and all the animosity comes from who? The person that lied to him for 50 years. So this is the people that you're telling us to go basically step in and be a crash dummy for. That I can't give nobody that advice. If you volunteer for the service, go ahead. But just know this: you get no GI Bill from the gynocracy, sir. You don't get no benefits. You don't get no VA benefits from that. You don't get none of that. You just get a pat on the back, and they will lower your ass into the ground and say you didn't do nothing.
You in her DM, I'm in her mouth, we not the same. Flipping the funk, the heat, the fire, got the flame. Came with the gift, the gab, and blessed with lots of game. Be mad at me, they know I'm not to blame. You in her DM, I'm in her mouth, we not the same.
And you're telling me that guy in a fag
just ruined my setup.
Look at that.
Ruined. City boy. Shout out to Kirk Franklin, baby. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kirk.
That dude walks down the Rainbow Road every freaking day, lost in translation, and you want to bring him up as an example of
was involved, he probably wouldn't have been doing that dance.
Yeah, but he's not straight, so how does he apply to us?
He wouldn't be a city boy. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't be a city boy.
All right, yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
He lives when he's in New York. He spends a lot of time in Chelsea, doesn't he?
Look, Kirk needed his daddy.
I'm sure he did. His daddy. That's what he needed.
He needed his father.
I'm just saying. Listen, gays don't apply to straight men, so we can't use that as an example. So that's out the door. So that doesn't matter. You have to come up with something better, lost in translation. You can argue with me and say he's straight if you want to, but I'm not convinced.
You know doggone where that man could have used his daddy.
Yeah, if his daddy was around, he wouldn't be the way he is, would he?
Hold on, Medrell. Aren't you the motherfucker that had an interview with the LGBT?
He didn't know his daddy was his daddy.
Yeah, I did.
Why are you hating right now?
I'm not hating. I don't hate on queers.
This ain't about queers. This is about men being in the lives.
You just sure brought one up here. Y'all gave me hell for it. But look,
you know what I'm saying?
You want to use one as an example. Where's the masculinity in him?
This is what happens when you lose an argument. You get sensitive. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sensitive at all. I'm just saying that's a bad example is all I'm saying.
That's a bad example. I think that's probably the most prolific.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, you're right. If his daddy was in his life, he wouldn't have ended up being the way he is now. Okay.
Hey, man, what you call him?
Hey man, I'm trying to get the channel struck.
Man,
Come
Drill,
on,
man,
man.
Drill's good, bro.
What you call
Trey
this?
trying to get him to say it again. Trey trying to get him to say it again.
Black man gonna be calling me, man, what happened to the channel,
Man, what happened? Man, what happened to the channel?
What happened to
Man,
the
Drill,
channel?
don't get the channel.
I said, man,
Drill,
Drill,
Trying to get the channel banned.
I said, man, Drill wouldn't be quiet.
Yeah.
You know how he is.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
Yeah,
know
but the
what I'm
thing is,
saying?
you try to help people and try to bring some understanding because but when you try to help people, but then they turn on you and call you kind of names. So I'm like, okay, now fuck you. I tried to help you, but you can go you can rest in shit and rot in hell.
Well, anyway, Mandrell.
Fuck all of you. I mean,
Mandrell,
that's huh?
Mandrell, I just want
What's
to
up?
say that you are absolutely ruining community with your mindset.
Am I really?
Yes.
Oh man, really?
I don't think so.
This is crazy.
You're a horrible human being.
Well, that just well may be. I might be a horrible human being, but here's the thing: I'm not saying I don't understand how the woman's coming up though. I mean, I really don't. Like, had she married the father of the children, she still would have been a married woman. But if she marries another guy, the guy's a stepdaddy.
It's not about the women. It's about the children seeing
Yeah,
that.
the kid's gonna need a positive male figure in their life. So what does it matter if it's from the biological father or the stepdad, as long as the kid's getting it?
Man,
So
Drill,
do single dads?
let me put it this way.
Dads get females to be positive female figures? Because I've never seen this type.
I mean, some do.
I'm trying to
yeah.
figure this out.
Some
It's
do. Yeah.
very rare, but it's very rare. But all of a sudden, we got to suit up with the army of the gynocracy, man. Bro, that shit is dead, bro. It's
Man,
dead.
Drill,
It's over.
what I'm
with.
saying, man, Drill, what we're saying is that, most guys like me, R. Payne, and Mr. Bennett, we would normally step in and give the child guidance, okay? What happens in the next 45, 50 years when they're not making any more lost in translations? They're not making any more R. Paynes and Mr. Bennett. We can't draw from that tradition anymore because it no longer exists. Because look at it this way. We have the reason why most people don't get married is because they don't know how to get married.
They don't know how to be in a relationship, let alone how to be married.
Because they haven't seen it in years.
Well, Mandrill and Lost in Translation. You know, one thing that y'all missing is the environment, bro. The environment has changed so much that if you say something to somebody else's kids, y'all know somebody gonna say something to y'all. So stop playing games with this.
Well, here's the thing, KP. Here's the thing with that, okay? That is a problem. It's not a cultural problem. That's more of an individual thing. And I know what you're talking about, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You got too many women out there that don't want you to say anything to their children or about their children, even with they know their child's misbehaving. And the thing is, she's not doing that child any good. That's a person who never should have had children in the first place. Okay. And that's now that thing is, yes, there is. But problem is, they're not getting those lessons at home on how to behave and how to raise children properly. So I mean, the thing is,
them lessons if they're working two jobs.
Well, I got them lessons.
They ain't working two jobs. These people sitting on the couch.
Oh,
man.
Can I say something? Can I say something really quick?
Two jobs equaling 8 hours a day.
I just want to highlight something really
Facts,
quick.
Trey.
I want to highlight 2 points very quickly, and I want everybody in the chat and on the panel to remember this terminology: disposable black men. I repeat it: disposable black men. Shout out, and I want, and the reason why I'm saying this is because this. Mandrell said something very interesting. He said, for the kids, it doesn't matter whether the father there or the stepdaddy there, whatever. It doesn't matter. That is the epitome of what black men are seeing like in this community, right? Because he just said it, right? It doesn't matter. As long as the kids have some type of masculine father figure, it doesn't matter if it's the biological father or a stepdaddy or someone else, right? That is the problem here, gentlemen, is that everyone is looking at us as disposable black men, and we perpetrate it through these types of actions. And I just want to highlight that. That's it.
That doesn't but we ain't saying that don't mean anything. You as a biological father, they look at you the same goddamn way.
I don't think disposable is the right word. I think maybe interchangeable might be a better word.
No, disposable because you can throw one away and get another. That's exactly what disposable is.
That's what but the disposable black man is that young man at 18 to 35-year-old young man. Those are the disposable black men because look at the lifestyle we're losing a lot of our brothers between that age just to balance against each other. And they're having children who are being left to go through that same psychological barrier that their fathers have gone through. So that's the disposable black man. That's why I say it's important for, I don't know, the Generation Z, because they didn't start, I don't know, we go through the ABZ's generation. These last 30 years, man, this is where these young men really, really need to can change the game. The game has always been the same. It's just the players are different. And the players today don't have too much, they're not built with the same type of armor. The players are the same. I mean, the game is the same. I mean, different. Excuse me, the game is the same, but the players are different. And if you in that young age, you got to get out here, and I say this, it ain't about nobody else but you. Because when you're starting getting to a point where you catching a cramp, trying to flip over, and your eyes are changing and all of that, you're gonna need to have yourself in a place where you can sustain your own life. It ain't about nobody else, because ain't nobody coming to save us. We all know this. We all grew up in here. And most of us, I don't care how much you talk about it, you loyal to America anyway. You want to make money to buy more American-made stuff that hardly any of us have been inventing over the last 40, 50 years. So that's all I'm saying is we need each other, whether we young or old. Everybody that goes in the military learn how to follow orders real quick. And guess what? You overcome that and you apply it, and it makes you a stronger individual over the next 5 or 10 years of your life. So we have to work together. We have to build a nation together. There's no one solution. We can all see that. So it's going to take time. I need you, young men, to dedicate 5 or 10 years, whether it's building a relationship with your children, continue doing that, build a relationship with your nieces and nephews, whatever, because those same children are going to marry your sons and daughters. They're gonna marry your sons and daughters. And you in one sense, you wouldn't want your son to be out here getting taken advantage of, but he will be if you're not giving him the information from an early age. And
you know what, Trey? I'm glad you said something, man.
It's up to you.
Because Alexis put in the chat, she said that but can someone give another solution other than leave them for dead? I got a solution. Respect your elders. Let's start there first and work our way down. Because the elders, no, let me finish. The reason why I say respect your elders, because they have a perspective that the younger generation don't have. And the minute that we start doing that, then they can learn from those people and you can get better as the generations go. Now, if you start coming out thinking you got all the answers because you living in that particular time, then you're really not going to benefit from those who came before you, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if we start right there, start making sure that we build some type of respect for other people and respect for your elders, then they would actually teach the next generation to respect their elders and so on, and we can build from there. But until we start doing that, what's the point? You know what I mean? You're going to have to start giving solutions from the top down. That's the only way it's going to work, because the people who just got here. And to be honest, you can't lead anybody if you just got here.
The point is, there's a saying, right? When a student is ready, the teachers will appear.
Right.
The problem is that the respect, is not there because nobody's willing to listen. Right now, she asked that question, so that means she's open to hear an answer. Okay, so how many people are asking a question to get better? And one of the things that we say all the time in this manosphere, besides pointing the fingers at women, one of the things we say is the women who have some intestinal fortitude, the women who want to be good wives, the women who want to look at the future, how come they don't step up and break the sister code and tell these women better? Protect your virtue. We're not saying you have to be a virgin, but learn how to say no sometime, goddammit. Learn how to say you got to put on a condom or else we're not having sex. Take responsibility for your womb, right? You can't say it takes two to tango and forget about the fact that you have final consent to sex or else it's a criminal act, right? So stop the bullshit. But the sisters never say that to each other. They want to off-put all the shit on men, as opposed to saying, hey, listen, what about your responsibility to your body? Right? You can't just use that for the A word and deleting kids. It has to go for your womb. But they don't talk to each other like that. They coddle each other, talk bullshit, because they're going to say a man is going to stick his thing in there. Yeah, he is, because he's going to take sex from you any way you give it to him. That's what men do. We've been doing that shit. Can we do better? Yeah. But you ain't getting more than 10% of men doing that, depending on how old they are. So women need to start telling shit the right thing. Your Crips and Cures, right? She takes a lot of shit because she tells black women about that effery all the time. You know? And so we need more women to do that.
Yeah, right? But the problem, our pain, is that women don't listen to women. If you're on these panels too, man. Hold on, here's the thing. You're on these panels. Hold on. You're on these panels too, and I see you around. You hear the things that women say. They don't listen to one another, even when they know for a fact that the other person is correct. They know that they're wrong and the other person is correct. They still dismiss it and downplay it and toss it out, dude. They're not listening to anyone, not even themselves.
Yeah, but man, that doesn't mean they shouldn't keep saying it. That doesn't mean they shouldn't keep saying it. Men don't listen to men either, right?
Men do listen to men.
So what I'm saying is they need to keep saying it regardless. They need to step out there, and they need to be willing to take the bows and arrows from the goddamn ratchet ass women out there. They're not willing to do that. It doesn't matter whether women are listening or not. And why are we begging our heads against the wall?
Because the thing is,
man, you ain't listening. I know the women ain't listening. That doesn't mean they shouldn't say it.
But here's the thing: we're the ones who are supposed to be the leaders, right?
We don't own the woman's womb. We don't own the woman's womb.
I know. Here's the thing: I know that we don't own the women's womb.
That's what I'm talking about, though.
No, but the thing is,
shit on men.
I get it. No, the cure here is hold on.
Women controlling their own virtue. We don't own their virtue. We don't.
Okay.
Don't put that shit on men.
I'm not putting that on men.
The best men we could be. We own that.
No, we're not. We're not doing that.
They own their own womb. We are not responsible for a woman's virtue. She is.
She has to take some responsibility for
hold on. And she does have to take some responsibility for it. Okay.
She has to take most of the responsibility. So,
yes. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Let's say I give you that. But the issue with what you're proposing is that women are no longer listening to anyone except themselves, and we both know that they can't make it like that. And we all know that they can't make it like that.
And you know what? That speaks to what we ain't signing was saying a minute ago. If you ain't gonna listen, you need to starve.
They're not listening. That's the thing. That's the only issue I have with only disagreement I have with what you're saying is that but I hear what you're saying, but the women today, they don't seem to be listening to anyone, including themselves. And let's be honest, women hate each other. So that ain't gonna work anyway.
But translation, you know how you make them starve? By men standing on something.
Yeah.
How do you don't stand on something? They're not gonna listen to what you got to say.
No. If you don't accept their bullshit, they're gonna have to make adjustments.
Yeah, find somebody else.
They're gonna have no choice.
But guess what they're gonna end up finding? They're gonna find some shit that they ain't gonna want. Some shit that they ain't gonna be able to take care of or provide or protect for them.
Good.
So if you want them type dudes, that's gonna be your only choice. Because now you have no other choice. You're gonna have to take them loser dudes, because the dudes who's about their business, we not tolerate your bullshit. We gotta stand on something as a collective.
Hold on. Hey, you know what happens there, Hink?
Hink, that's what
no. I just got one point. I just
want to say something really quickly.
Go ahead,
please. So, Alexis, unfortunately, my way is the correct way. And Mandrell, I'm sorry to say this, brother, but black men are not the leaders. We are in a gynocracy. The black community is a gynocracy, okay? Black women are the leaders of the black community.
Who let them do that? Whose fault is it?
No, it don't matter. It don't matter. It is what it is.
If it's a gynocracy, that means it's run by men.
No, run by women.
No, a gynocracy is run by men, but it is built for women. That's a gynocracy, sir. So if you're saying that the black community, that black men are running a gynocracy, that means we are in charge. But we are building it for the women.
Gynocracy means that the community is ran by women.
Oh my God, bro.
Not GUI. Nocracy.
my thing is this. Like I said, my whole stance in this whole thing is for men to be better men. That's my outcry. That's the crux of my message. That's why you hear me come out here and be so hard on men. Because if men were better men, the women would have no choice but to follow us. They would have no choice. Like he says, if we weren't putting up with that bullshit, they got no place else to go. The twist is that when women would find a good guy who's not going to take their bullshit, so instead of following that dude, they choose to leave. And then they blame, the next thing out their mouth, ain't no good men out here. I got no choice but to be single. I got no choice but to be a single mother. No, chick, you met the right dude. You said you wanted a leader. You said you wanted this, got to be this, that, and the other. He was all that, but you didn't. When you got it, you didn't know what to do with it, so you left, and now you're out here on your ass, single, alone again.
Mandrell, question for you:
What's up?
Would you agree with this statement? Majority of black men ain't shit.
No, I would not say that.
No.
So then clarify the statement of if we were better men, because I have an issue with that. And also for Trey, according to Webster's dictionary, authority, government are ruled by women. Now, any society or culture controlled by women. Webster dictionary.
You know what? Here's the problem, man.
So as I said, the black community is not a gynocracy. Black women do not run the black community. I don't know where you get that. No, they don't.
I disagree.
No, they do not run the community.
Yeah, we ain't signing. I got to disagree with you on that one, brother.
They do not run our community. I don't know where you're getting that from. Now, the community may be outfitted for them. Yeah, we may push them, but it's not. We run the community.
No, you do not.
Listen. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is where I have my problems with black men. You think like this. You weak as fuck. And this is my issue. This is my issue, and I've said this before. I've said this before. The women are empowered because the men are weak. There's no way in the world you're ever going to sit here and tell me that a woman is leading me. It ain't happening, Chad.
You know what? Let me help y'all out, Trey. Here's the thing. When we say that women are running a gynocracy, they're not. And I'm gonna tell you why. They're under the illusion from the government and other places that are in place to keep them in power. They have not gained their own power. They're not growing their own food. They're not building their own stuff. Men are making it a place for them to say that they're in charge. They're not in charge. They're not running up power lines and all this other stuff. They're getting the benefit of men producing for them so they can stand on their shoulders and beat their chest and say, I am woman, hear me roar. Let's just be honest about that. Now, if it really came down to it, and if women really had to grow their own food, sew their own clothes, did all of this stuff, no, they'd be in trouble, big time.
So first of all, with the exception of probably me, nobody on this panel is growing your own fucking food.
I grow mine.
So okay, well, with the exception of two, no one is really growing their own food and sewing their own clothes. I don't sew my own clothes either. The point is, look, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Anyway,
but there's somebody who grows it. That's a man somewhere.
Yeah. But it's
we just magically think that food just show up at the store.
Yeah.
Magically, you know what I'm saying?
We're talking black community. We're not talking mainstream community, right? We're talking black community.
Well, we're part of the community too. So we just don't grow our own food.
Yeah, but black people don't grow food for black community.
We used to.
Black community, but I mean, we're talking today, right?
Yeah.
We're talking now, present day, right? We get our food from some white or Mexican fucking farmer in California, right? For the most, Iowa, chicken and eggs from Iowa. So the point is this: when we're talking about the black community, mainstream community, set up black community in the way that is governed by women, and this is why we have a lot of structural issues and problems in the black community. It's structured this way. It is between public welfare, social programs, whatever, to mating rituals, to coupling agreements. Everything screams gynocracy. Point blank period. And black men are only 6% of America. So we don't even have a huge voting bloc. So, I mean, come on, we have to speak in reality. Now, does a black woman run your individual life? Of course not. But when we're talking about community and collective issues, yes, she does.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody could deny that. You know,
I can't. I'm not going to go back and forth about this. He feels the way he feels.
Okay, so but anyway, it's not a big deal to the point. It's not really more of a big deal to the point whether any of us agree individually. But you know, it's all we can agree on is that whatever is left of the community is in complete chaos and disarray, and we have a big class issue in the black diaspora. Right? It's separate. The folks who don't live in the inner cities. And any families that we have that are intact, most of them are in outskirts, living around the city and outside of it because we want our kids to be safe. And so it's almost a different, complete culture in the inner cities on the way they live. People living lives of quiet desperation, you know, issue with the cops, issue with the kids, or issues everywhere. You know, and women run that. They're the mayors, they're the aldermen. They put these LBGYN or LBGTQ bullshit and you know, and they open conduit for all the worst shit that's for us, based on feelings and based on liberalism. And that's why they vote 95, almost 100% for Democrats. That's the shit they got to change. So, and for men, for sure, we don't have nothing in that party for us. So listen, you know, we got a lot of problems, man. We got 99 problems, and every one of them are.
I have a question.
Come on, Trey.
Yeah.
You mentioned that people are sort of, I guess, divesting from the urban communities and sort of going more to the suburban for a better lifestyle. Who are we protecting our young men and women from?
Ourselves.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. Ourselves. And if you really look at those numbers, you're going to see a range from 14, 15, all the way through 40, 40, 45. Most guys, when they get about mid-40s, they start to have a different life view. And they sort of take ownership for the mistakes they made, the bad decisions, and you can talk about it. And what helps us, what I've seen help a lot of young brothers who maybe spend a lot of years of their youth in 20s and 30s in prisons and on drugs. What helps them navigate through that is that they can come to spaces where they can communicate that to other men, and other men will say, man, you messed up. But man, despite that, this is how we can make it better. We need to put in the work. You look at women today, the difference is, and there's no difference between the uniform of a teenage girl, 17, and a 45-year-old woman. They're wearing the same uniforms. They talk the same message. And we see it when a lot of women get older, they start preaching, you don't need this man, you don't need this, because they know they X'd out. And they know that younger girl with that nice figure who's willing to be submissive and cooperative, she's in greater position than that older woman. So if I can keep you out of the game for 20 years, I have, again, perpetuated the same lifestyle in the communities that has been going on for the last 35 or 40 years. I've never seen it this outrageous, because women are owning B&Bs. They own that name. Back in the day, you'd have got your teeth slapped out of your mouth. You called a guy's mother a B, or you heard somebody mention that. But once that generation came to fruition, when they threw that crack out in the streets, and now all these women are in the streets doing whatever it wasn't like it was behind closed doors. It was all in the streets now. Now kids are seeing this. Now they are in their prime and struggling with the most basic thing that I remember being around groups of 10, 20 of us and half girl and half boy, and we all could communicate about life expectations and what we wanted and what we didn't want. And we sort of protected each other in that capacity. Now, those boys, and listen, it's not for everybody, but we see those are the ones who are being a voice for other men and women who want to be better. And this is where we have to continue to hold each other accountable regardless. A lot of times we tiptoe around the truth, but then we'll go to the Bible and say the truth. No, we are of that being. We just have to not be afraid to walk in it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You have to be putting in the work. If you 30, go 20 years strong, working 10-hour days, focusing on you, forget the woman. Because when you finally get your hut together, when you finally get your straw house together, you're going to be able to call the shots to the way you want it, and you will be protecting your family, your community, your younger generation coming up behind you. But if you walk around in front of them with your pants hanging down, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to smell shit all day, and it ain't going to be nothing change. And if they say, and because people throw these things out, if they say the black wealth is going to be at zero in 2050, that's 25 years. So if you're 25 and you're sitting out here waiting for something to happen and ain't doing nothing, man, you will be poor. It ain't changed. The game is still the same. It's the same. So
when is the silent generation, the baby boomers and Generation X, going to take some blame for what the shit that y'all got?
We are the blame. We are the blame.
Can't fix nothing.
Y'all jack this shit up. Those three generations.
Blame can't fix nothing. Half of the people on their way out. So it's up to us. We got to fix our own problems.
I don't understand what that really means. I mean, it
means our pain. Your generation jacked this shit up. That's what it is.
Our generation brought the biggest technological boom inside as well. So I mean, with that
technological boom, all it did was denigrate our people. Great job. You did it.
Technology's gonna happen.
Way to go.
That's not the blame for it's how people use it. But listen, I hear all this shit, man, about the baby boom. Yeah, every generation has their downside. Let me also tell you,
it's a trash generation.
It's the baby boom.
It's the most selfish generation ever.
Okay, so what happens? Are you using that as an excuse to be who you are now?
All right, y'all. We finna wrap this up. Once again, we have entered into the crying stage of our show, where we whine and complain and blame everybody else besides ourselves. Well, guess what? In the barbershop, we're not gonna do that. We take responsibility for our own actions. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap the show up. Our Pain, you can go ahead and give us your final thoughts, sir, and also where the people can find you.
Yeah, my channel is Marriage, Politics, and Sports. I have like 53 videos on it. The last one I did was on Kirk Franklin, by the way. Awesome. It's pretty good. So I haven't done any lives, but I think my videos and thumbnails tell you exactly what I'm talking about. But a lot of them I try to put solutions to. Like for LeBron's school, right? The way they failed, which is a bad thing. But for this conversation, I just think that, men, we have like I said in the beginning, we have our issues with our women because they raised us and we have a deference to them that is unhealthy based on being in single parent households. But it's just a natural occurrence because the men ain't around. So whether the women are doing things to us on purpose or by default, they can only raise us the best way they know how. And if they're women, they can't raise us to be men, right? So one of the things, I don't know how we fix that from 100 feet away. Some people say stepdaddyism. The Umar Johnson say stepdaddyism is it. But I don't think a man should sacrifice his best years for somebody who blew theirs. I don't think that shit's fair. But if there's other ways to capture a kid from being bad and dangerous that you can lend yourself to, not the individual woman, but the actual saving the boys. And if you know how to do that, then do it. Because I think that every boy that escapes into a manhood with the emotions of a woman and the strength of Hercules is a dangerous freaking man. You know, and we need less of those guys out there any way we can. We can't save the woman who doesn't want to be saved, but if we can save a few guys and give them a heads up on how to turn their lives around, in spite of the fact of how they grew up, you know, each one, even if we could save one or two a piece, you know, that's better than none. That's all I can say there.
Appreciate it. Tell the folks how they can find you, R-Pain.
Yeah, my channel is Marriage, Politics, and Sports. 1241. You can see it on there. Somebody put the link in the chat already, so it's there.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Subscribe to my channel so I could be like 110 subs.
That's all right. That's more than what you had. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you, R-Pain.
Yeah,
thank you for coming up, sir. It's always a joy and a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Yeah.
All right, we ain't signing. What you got, man? Final thoughts and tell the people how they can find you, man.
Okay, so first of all, the only way you can find me is in China because I ain't dealing with y'all motherfuckers like that. Second, today, gentlemen, and man, Drew, I'll wait for you in the back chat so you can ask me whatever question you need. So, gentlemen, you heard what I said earlier before. Majority of people think black men are weak, ain't shit, etc., etc. Even the men on this panel have said some variation of that. So my response is this: at the end of the day, if we want a better black community, you cannot enable bad behavior. So, and that's just the moral of the story, right? If you care about the black community, if you care about our black boys, if you care about our black girls, you can no longer enable this bad behavior. You gotta let consequences and repercussions have its day, have its time. And then after that, we will have a better society. We will have a more cohesive society and a better community. You know, I mean, we this is nothing new, right? It's easier to build stronger children than to fix broken adults. Shout out to Frederick Douglass. And I'll close on this. Moving forward, you know, you got to put your interests first. As black men, you just got to put your interests first, and that's all I have. And you guys take care.
Thank you for joining us again. Once again, we ain't signed. It's been a pleasure. Next person, Trey, what you got for us, sir? Tell the people how they can reach you, sir, and you give us some final thoughts.
You can't reach me because I don't want to be found. Look, I've said this before. The women are empowered because the men are weak, and I meant that when I said it. In order for our community to get stronger, the men have to get stronger. Now, there are some great and very strong men within our community, sure. But as a whole, collectively, I think that we are weak, and we are seen as weak outside of our community. It's something that we have to fix, and we can fix it. And I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot going on, and hopefully one day we'll get there. I can only do my part. Bill Belichick used to tell his players all the time, just do your job. All I can do is do my job. I have my child to worry about and my family to worry about, so I'll do the best that I can on my end, and hopefully other black men will do the best that they can on their end. It's always great talking to y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Trey, so much for coming out, sir. We appreciate you coming out. KP, come on, sir. Give us your final thought and how the people can reach you, sir. I guess he gone. Mandrell, it's up to you, sir.
Who, me?
Final thoughts. Yeah, final thoughts and how the people can reach you.
Final thoughts. You can reach me here on Black Man Unfiltered. We'll be back with a new episode of Mandrell and Shoo week after next. So no show next week, but the week after we'll be back in full regalia. Okay, Sis and I needed a break. We have a lot going on in real life, both of us. So, no point keep pushing if you're just gonna get burned out. So, but you can reach you here. That's on Wednesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Black Man Unfiltered Network. You can also reach me on my own YouTube channel, The Big Picture. I just did an episode today with OGJ Speed, and hopefully you guys hope you guys catch that on replay if you missed it today. It was a fantastic live stream. He's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely was. But my final thoughts on tonight's topic: are black men scared of black women? No, they're not. It's just people don't know how to be in relationships. People weren't taught relationship skills, so that's why they don't know how. You know, and it's a shame because no one seems to value or prioritize teaching kids how to navigate the world and get along with people. They're just taught how to defend themselves. They're taught how to be aggressive, but they're not taught diplomacy or how to get along. You know what I mean? So there's no balance in the kid's life. So when they grow up, what do you think is going to happen? Right. Pure chaos. The boys are taught to defend, to get it, and the girls are taught to defend themselves against men. Period. That's it, and that's just not going to work. There's no cohesion being taught. There's no togetherness being taught. There's no community being taught, and that is squarely on the shoulders of the adults. That's your fault. If you are a parent and you're not teaching your child this, it is your fault. Period. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You are a shit parent, which the vast majority of you watching this program are, because you're not teaching your kids this. Even though you hear us saying this, you're still going to go out there tomorrow and not even start, even though you know you should, which makes you a shit human being. I have spoken.
Thank you, Mandrell, for coming out, and we'll see you in the back chat. Ladies and gentlemen, to answer the question, why are black men scared of black women, which is the original premise of this show, and most of the guys say that they're not. But if we reach down into the crux of this particular show, it shows that a lot of women are afraid of men because they barricade themselves behind their money, you know, and they listen to old wives' tales about how men are bad. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we basically need each other, you know, to improve ourselves in ways that some of us haven't yet figured out yet. But as we learn along the way, we will figure that out. And with that being said, I want everybody to hit the like button on your way out. I want to thank everybody from coming by. Information Man, I see you, sir. Thanks for coming out. I want to thank Black David and Alexis from Texas in the back for point guarding the show. You guys did a fantastic job. And I want also to thank Black Man Unfiltered. I know you somewhere enjoying your honeymoon. We appreciate you, sir, for giving us an opportunity to borrow the barbershop. So I'm going to take the keys and I'm going to lock it up. Appreciate y'all. Y'all can also find me on Lost in Translation podcast on YouTube. You can also find me here on Black Man Unfiltered on Talk They Talk Tuesday and at the Barbershop, and also on Sundays at 8:30 on Sir Hell Speaks show. So with that being said, I'm going to take the keys and lock this thing up. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.